Charts, Scott, Sailor, and Colonel Jason Rhodes. These are the men who trained together, fought together, and survived together. Now, in the most important mission of their lives, they're going back to get their buddies who were left behind.
Are you ready? All right, gentlemen, let's go. We can't leave anybody behind this time! Okay, your history, pal. I'm gonna take out the tower. Hold on. Let's go. Fly this thing. Come on, buddy. We're going home.
Paramount Pictures presents Uncommon Valor.
Okay, hi everybody. So welcome, and I'm so glad you guys could be here. I actually started this whole thing on time, but then forgot to hit the go live button. So that was fun.
Minor technical issue there.
Minor technical. You gotta hit the button. Gotta hit the button, or it doesn't count. So as you guys know, this month I wanted to do Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott films. And so some of you are like, well, that's clearly Gene Hackman. This is not either one of those films. But actually, Patrick Swayze is in this film. He plays Scott, and you heard his name in the beginning there. And this movie is one of my favorites, but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that someone else loves this movie probably more than I do, and that would be none other than my guest for this evening, Outcast creative Lance Nielsen. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I had to lie about my age to get in and see this movie at the cinema.
Really?
And the trailer for this movie, by the way, in the UK was completely different to the one that you just showed. It was much darker. It had a different soundtrack. The guy who did the voiceover was completely different. It was like, they're on a desperate mission to rescue their friend, and it was completely, the atmosphere and the tone of the trailer was totally different.
Oh no, I want to see that trailer. That sounds
it's
so
probably
cool.
out there somewhere, I would think, because I remember the TV spots for it really clearly, because it was really advertised heavily on television in the UK.
I'll have to hunt that down. But yeah, this movie, so Patrick Swayze is in this movie. He is just not the lead character of the movie, but he does play a pretty significant role, as does the whole supporting cast, because the entire basis of this film are basically, these are vets. So they've already been to Nam. They've gone to Vietnam. They've come back, but they're still P.O.W.s trapped over there, and one of them happens to be the colonel's son. And a businessman who is very rich is going to finance them in retrieving both their sons, essentially.
Yeah, because he's also missing his own son, and they were both in the same unit.
Yep. And so the hope is that they'll find both of them
together. Yeah, Robert Stack plays the businessman, who's a bit of a name face from American television. Indeed.
And this movie, I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Outcast, but this is one of the first films, at least that I ever saw. Now, granted, I saw this movie much later after it came out, but this is one of the first movies I recall that put Vietnam vets in a not negative light. Because even Rambo, like Vietnam vets it's very negative. I mean, Forrest Gump, it's very because it's like that's the time.
I think the Deer Hunter came out before this, unless I think the Deer Hunter was 81, but I might be wrong about that. Let me check. But this was the first kind of proper Vietnam rescue mission film. A lot of people thought that it was Rambo, and it's not. This came out 2 years before. This was 83. Yeah. Rambo was 85. But Chuck Norris did a movie called Good Guys Wear Black, and that has a story with American MIAs, but obviously tonally is a bit more of a silly film.
Yeah.
This film is very serious.
Yes, and it's very, you know, a lot of people before I watched this film, someone told me, "Oh, it's like the A-Team." It is nothing like the A-Team. Like if you ever hear that description,
yeah, that's nonsense. I mean,
kick that
first of
person
all,
in the shin. Yeah.
they don't go inside a shed with a load of gardening implements and then come out with a tank. I mean, that doesn't happen in this
No.
movie. They do have to fix a load of NAF weapons, but
Yes.
that, I mean, we can get onto that scene later.
But also like nothing in this movie
It's better.
Nothing in this movie really makes you suspend your disbelief too much to the extreme. Like this is all things that, especially because you have in the back of your head that there's a financer behind this. So this isn't like Blackwater or Stone Ridge or any of those, you know, like other ones that we shall not name on this stream of like, you know, private industry people who do things for money. We'll just call them contractors.
Okay. Yeah,
we'll just call them. So this isn't exactly a contractor. This is a man with means who wants his son back, and he sees the opening with the colonel because the colonel's son is. So he's like, "Hey, we have a mutual benefit here. Like you could save both our sons." Kind of like.
Yeah. I mean, the beginning of the movie is actually kind of. I think it's set in the last days of Vietnam during the retreat, and their units pulling out. And McGregor, who is the son of Robert Stack's character, gets wounded. Gene Hackman's son, his character stops to pick him up, and that image of them carrying one another is on the poster. But they don't quite get to the helicopter in time. It's not a massive spoiler because if they didn't get left behind, there would be no movie.
There'd be no movie, yeah.
But that's a really well photographed scene. It's all kind of in slow motion. It's very Sam Peckinpah. And it's got a very moody sort of soundtrack from James Horner, and that's your opening film. And I think that if I remember rightly, that scene sort of turns into like a nightmare flashback, and the colonel kind of wakes up. I think.
Yes. Because he wakes up in a cold sweat.
That's
and you're
right.
Not sure, you're not sure if he was dreaming about that. Like you're led to believe that that's the scenario he was dreaming about, but
it's also really what happened.
It's also exactly what happened. So,
by the way, I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but we're kind of off center on the stream for some bizarre reason. Yeah, the image of the poster is tucked down in the right corner, and if you can you see the stream live to see what I mean?
Yeah. Let me do.
I hope my presence hasn't made it go.
You have rattled
my
the
presence.
camera.
My presence here has made it go wonky.
Here, is that better?
Well, on the screen. It's a few seconds behind, but we'll see. Yeah. No, I mean that's not the issue. I think the issue. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, your image is kind of slightly. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No one's going to care.
Like we are.
If they can see less of my face, that's probably a better.
We are askew. Let me see if I can. I don't know how. Oh my god! I need a quarter black or an extra. I need a me to help me fix this. Hold on. Let's see if this helps. That's a little bit better. Hopefully, none of the pictures will be too big.
All right.
But is that better?
No, that's taken us out of the image.
Wait, maybe I don't know because
hang on. Let me make it full screen. Oh no! It's good. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what it was? Do you know what it was? I had the image scrunched up in one corner because I've got them both on the same screen. And it was chopping us out. I was just being an idiot. Ignore me.
No, you're fine.
I've not done many of these, so this is all very new for me.
Hey, it's completely fine. It is totally fine. I was like, man, on my screen it looks fine. I wonder what's going. Like maybe it's just my screen where it's working.
For all you kids watching, don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. All right. Yes.
We're good. Let's continue.
Okay. Fantastic. But so before we get too much more into the film, I do have a couple of donations and super chats that I want to hit. First and foremost, Big Daddy MRI.
Hey, we love Big Daddy MRI.
Yes, we do. How are you, Big Daddy? I hope that you are having a lot of fun on the streams, and it's always so much fun wrenching with you. I really, really, really really appreciate it. And the fact that you became a YouTube member, I mean, that hits me right in the feels, in the heart.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Do like Big Daddy.
Yes.
That sounds rude when I say it out loud, but you know, we know what it means.
Yes, we do. Wait, where did it go?
You got another one somewhere?
Yeah, it ran away.
Shall I scroll up and have a look? There's one from member for 2 months.
Yeah, he became so Big Daddy became a fellowship member. Yep,
you've got one from Cal G, which is kind of just above that.
Yeah, and it won't give it to me.
Well, shall I talk about it because I can see it?
You can see it. Wait,
yeah. Well, I just scrolled up the chat.
There it is. Yes, in the live chat. Okay, yeah. I was trying to. Cal G, I'm sorry, it ran away, and I can't show it on the screen. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can either. But yeah, to be honest, I thought this film was going to be meh, but I'm glad I got proved wrong. There you go.
Yes, Cal G, it's a fantastic film. I'm so glad you gave it a shot. This is one of my, as I was telling Outcast right before the stream, this is one of my favorite films, and I'm really surprised that more people have not heard of it, have not seen it. It's actually really surprising to me.
Listen, I had two acting students in my acting class on Monday night the other day who haven't seen Die Hard. Okay, and Uncommon Valor got nowhere near the PR and the following, and didn't get any sequels, obviously. And so you know, it was a big film when it came out, but 1983 was a long time ago, and all the generations before us are only discovering a lot of these films now. In fact, I said to you I wanted to do a stream about The Last Starfighter, and I can't remember if you said you hadn't seen it.
I've not seen it, no.
There you go. So, and that was a big movie when it came out. And that was later. That was 85, I think it was.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
You're gonna have to watch it because you're gonna come on my stream and talk about it. So we can kind of do what did you think of it?
Yeah. It'd be great. I'm looking forward to it. But here is, so if any of you can't tell, the picture on the screen right now, by the way, is Gene Hackman after he goes back to Vietnam. Clearly, that's not what he wore when he was a colonel, active in the Marine Corps there.
That's more his casual tourist look.
Yeah, that's his tourist look.
For when he goes back. I'm definitely not an American. I'm just here, nothing to see here.
Yep. This movie is so great. And then on the donation side, really quick. Oh man, that picture's terrible. Why is that pixelated like that? Here,
I think it looks all right.
There we go.
There you go. That's
much better.
Yeah.
On the donation side, from Raj Williams for $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Says great choice for a movie discussion, Lady G. Looking forward to this discussion as always. They don't make them like they don't make them like that no more. No, they don't. Hashtag. Bastard for $20, you crazy person.
Well, hey, real money there.
Right, for a great lady. Well, thank you so much.
You can almost buy a t-shirt for that now.
I can almost buy a t-shirt for that
I mean,
now.
not in Disney World, but you know, somewhere else.
I can also almost afford a gallon of gas.
Oh my God.
This was getting to. And then Cal G for $3 on the donation side as well. Thank you. Cal G, you're being so generous. Says, if a man were to know the end of this day's business ere yet to come, but it suffice that the day will end, and then the end be known. And if we meet again, well, then we'll smile. And if not, then this parting was well made. That's
Shakespeare, and it's a quote from the movie.
So I tried to drop into the voice, but it caught me because I just started reading it and then I realized what it was, so I started over. But yes, that is a quote it is in the movie, and there's some great lines in this film.
The script is you know what, when I watched this film probably once every 3 or 4 years, and the last time I watched it I think was about a year ago. And it's the script, you know, sometimes you watch something a lot later and you go, oh, this doesn't hold up so well. The script is still really good.
Yes. It's not
all solid, you know.
Yes. The script it's very focused. It's not tight. There's not a lot of, and you know, this movie, while it's a serious movie, it didn't take itself to the point where it's so serious that you can't watch it again. Like where it
no, it's not a grim.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like Schindler's List, which you can maybe watch once every 10 years.
Yeah.
Because you know, I've had that in my DVD collection. I think I only watched it for the first time like 10 years after I owned it or something.
Yeah.
And I had to have it, but I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, Schindler's List is one of those ones, kind of like the Passion of the Christ. Like they're so heavy that I can watch Passion of the Christ maybe once or twice a year.
I didn't get to the end of that.
You didn't get to the end of the Passion of the Christ?
No, I've not seen that all the way through. That's not my idea of a good time. That film. No,
okay. Hey,
you know, but I'm a spiritual guy, but I'm not a massively religious guy.
Hey, that's fine. I understand. It's one of the best depictions from the Bible that I've seen.
Yeah, no, I get that completely, yeah. And I don't want to stray off topic. I could talk about other adaptations that I like covering those things. But,
you've not. Father Miller seems to share. You know, he hasn't seen Schindler's List in 20 years, 15 for Passion. Yeah, like I'm saying, those are heavy films.
Father Miller, can I just ask, is that a real picture? Is that the Father Miller, or is that like an avatar?
That's him.
Because he looks like. That looks like he looks like a character from a TV show, like he's about to walk into Happy Days, or you know what I mean?
No, that's really him. I think that's a little bit younger picture of him.
That's great photo. Gotta love that. I think I'm going to write a character called Father Miller into a script now.
There you go.
So,
do it.
I was chatting to Mard Yacht before I came on the stream. Very nice person, and I want to give a shout out to Joshy and also Legatus Legionus. I was recommending to him that he watched Spartacus, the TV show with Andy Whitfield.
Yes.
Yeah, good recommendation, right?
Absolutely a good recommendation. Yeah. One of my favorite TV shows.
Mate, if you love your sword and sandals, you're going to love that. It's not Hollywood-esque. It is like watching a comic book, but it's great. It's really good writing. Oh, lost audio for a minute.
No, you're good. Okay, so I think that's everything. I think that's all the supers and that's all the donations.
Should we just talk about this photo, because this is a great picture you put up. This is basically the team that goes back in to rescue these guys.
Mm-hmm. This is
And I mean, they're not now. It's funny because this is a fantastic cast right here. There were a couple of them that weren't that well known. When they did this movie, they'd done a couple of B movies and things like that. One of them was Red Brown, who's at the back in the center. You got Harold Sylvester on the right. But one of my favorite B movie actors of all time is bottom right, Tim Thomerson. I absolutely love him from the Trancers films. He did a lot of movies for Charles Band's production company. And when we went to the video shop in the 80s, if there was a film and Tim Thomerson was in it, we were renting it. It didn't matter what it was, Doll Man or, you know, and I just love him in everything he's in. He can make a naff movie watchable just because if he's having fun, you kind of enjoy yourself. He did a great movie that not many people have seen with Tom Hanks called Volunteers, which ironically is about the Peace Corps going into Southeast Asia and building a bridge, and then, you know, Viet Cong and people like that getting involved, and with John Candy, and almost nobody's seen that movie. That'd be another great movie to do a stream about. And he plays a baddie in that, and he's fantastic in it, and he's sending himself up. Really good.
Huh.
Make a note of that one. Volunteers.
Okay.
I think it came out in '84 with John Candy as well. Great film.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. No, this whole ensemble cast is just kind of mind blowing how well they work together. I mean, there's like that actual genuine camaraderie there.
You can tell the actors got on.
Yes,
you can tell.
Absolutely. And it's hard. It's really hard when actors don't get on. So because this is one in particular that I sort of noticed, and I know that there's a lot of Snyder fans in my audience, guys. I'm not about to hate on Snyder, okay? His casting, for the most part, I think that Gal Gadot was a great cast for Wonder Woman, and I was nervous when Ben Affleck got cast as Batman, solely because I personally liked him as Daredevil, even though the show wasn't everything that it could be.
Yeah,
but I actually,
you don't want to know what I thought of that.
Well, I didn't hate it. I'll say that much. Because I loved the Daredevil comics, and so I was really excited to see it on screen. And quite frankly, compared to what Marvel has given us currently, it's making Daredevil look like it's making Ben Affleck's Daredevil look really freaking good. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
That was the one with Michael Clark Duncan as the bad guy, as the kingpin, right?
Yep.
Do you know what? It was all right. I didn't hate it. It was okay.
Yeah, it definitely didn't have the budget of current Marvel films, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, sorry, did I say? Okay, so up north, Calgie, everything's a show. Everything is a show. Like, hey, you want to go to the show? And we're literally talking about the movie theater. Like, that's just that's a thing from where I'm from. No matter where I've gone in the world, everything's just a show. And like no one from the Dakotas or Montana or Minnesota, anything up there, none of them question me when I'm like, oh yeah, I loved that. I loved like Tom Hanks' new show, Top Gun Maverick. And people are like, that's a movie. And I'm like,
yeah, and that's also not Tom Hanks's new show. It's
sorry,
Tom Cruise's.
Yeah.
I mean, see? Tom Hanks in Maverick would be an interesting swap out there.
Sorry, yes, Tom Cruise, not Tom Hanks. All right, we were just talking about volunteers, so like I have Tom Hanks on my brain now. But yeah, no, Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick show. But yeah, so yeah, it's just like saying pop, Coke, or soda. Exactly, Wizard Beer, the Last Picture Show type of show. Yep. I blame my New York dad for that. Hey, it's fair. But anyway, so yeah, everything is a show up there. But it's like. Now I've totally lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about because somebody had made that comment. You put a comment up where somebody had said about the show up north, and that's why you were explaining that phraseology. Yeah, and I can't normally keep track of myself either, so don't worry.
It's all good. But yeah, so Snyder, I think Gal Gadot was a good cast, and Ben Affleck was a really nice surprise for me because I absolutely love Batman. He's my second favorite after Hawkman. I love Hawk. I'm terrified about how they're gonna. Oh God. Anyway. Well,
let's move away from superheroes and get back to Uncommon Valor.
Well, what I was gonna say was like Snyder does really good casting. And I think that their interactions, like with between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa, or like Henry Cavill and Amy Adams.
Oh, in the Marvel films.
Yeah. That's
or DC or whatever.
Yeah. So like when you've got Snyder and he's got Amy Adams and Henry Cavill, the chemistry wasn't really there and the show suffered. Even though like I won't say Man of Steel would have been anything like mind blowing. The lack of chemistry between the two leads didn't help it. You know what I mean?
I would agree. And I mean, also, you've got to bear in mind with the superhero franchises, and I know this being on the other side of the camera, half the time with these big movies now, when they do pickups and they do reshoots and the script's constantly getting rewritten, so the actors never really know where they are with the story beats or the emotional tones. The actors aren't even there with each other in the same scene. So a lot of the time, you know, somebody will be acting like, okay, so a good friend of mine, I'm not going to say who because he's a really well-known actor. He did a movie called Armageddon. and if you've seen that, Jerry Bruckheimer, 1996. Yeah.
I love Armageddon.
And he also did another movie with Kurt Russell. I won't say which movie with Kurt Russell because otherwise you'll know which actor I'm talking about. But he said the difference between the Kurt Russell movie and working on Armageddon was unbelievable. He said whenever somebody wasn't in a shot with him, even though they were in the scene, they were straight back to their trailer. And it was like Battle of the Egos. He said whenever it was his shot, the people weren't there. And somebody was feeding him the lines off camera. It might have been an AD or whoever. When he was on the Kurt Russell film, Kurt Russell, he said the guy was an absolute diamond. He said it didn't matter whether he was in the shot or not in the shot, he was there. And even when I was doing my scenes, because he was contracted for the whole film, sometimes he was there and he would come up and compliment me on something I did. And he just said that the guy just made me feel valued, and I gave a better performance as a result because he was there for every shot that I did. And he said, mate, why are people not like this on other sets? And Kurt Russell said, I don't know, but I'm getting paid $75,000 a day, man. So I'm going to be here for all your shots.
There you go. Yeah, no, I like, that's what I'm saying. It's just like you said, you can tell that this cast, they got on, they were friendly, and it helped because this is it's a really intense script. To get back to the whole point of where that freaking rabbit hole took us, this script is really, really intense. And had there been, that if that Armageddon situation had happened where, people were back at their trailers, people weren't engaged, there was no chemistry, I don't think this movie this wouldn't have been as impactful as it actually is. You know what I mean?
One of the things I've tried to find out about the pre-production for the film is if the actors actually did any kind of boot camp together, to sort of as a training thing for a unit. And I haven't been able to find any quotations, and I was wondering if our good man from Band of Brothers and the guy who does all the military training, I was trying to find if his name was in the credits anywhere, but I can't find if they did anything like that. Maybe they did a day or something like that, but I can't see a military advisor's name that I could reach out to.
Well, and it would make sense because, and something that as anybody who has seen my channel previously knows, I get really nitpicky when it comes to like uniforms and weaponry and stuff like that, because
Me too.
So like I was
got to be accurate for a film like this. It's got to be spot on.
And if it was something like futuristic, like the Tomorrow War or something like that, or even in Star Trek where they're based, where it's beams and it's stun guns and it's phasers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You can let certain stuff go. You can be like, hey, I don't expect to see like a buffer spring collapsible buttstock or something like that. You know what I mean? Whereas in films like this, where it's Vietnam or it's Korea, or like that was something I loved about MASH, how well they portrayed the Korean element so well, like the Korean War element so well. That's something I really appreciated.
Yeah.
And so when films, I'll separate them out here for you guys. Caldi, okay. So like when films and series and shows get that right, it shows, one, that you care, and two, that you're paying attention to detail. And so if you care about those little things, that means the bigger things are almost going to, like, I won't say completely take care of themselves, but if you pay attention to the small things, then you're going to be able to essentially, like, the bigger things will have less hiccups and less issues, if that makes any sense. But yeah, this is,
if you can get the small details right, everything else should be relatively easy. It's the small stuff that most people don't bother with, and that's what separates good quality historical pictures, like Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, that kind of thing.
Yes,
that's what separates those from the nonsense.
Yeah. If Starbucks was a thing back when this movie was made, you would not see a random Starbucks cup somewhere in the shot. That would not happen.
Let's not get sidetracked onto Game of Thrones, because that'll be a rabbit hole that will last 45 minutes, and boy, could I talk about that.
Well, I'm not a fan. Like I said, I never got into Game of Thrones, but one of the things that does irk me, just as a fan in general, like how are you gonna let? Because that's not a small detail. Like that is.
No, but
that is ripping you out of the scene. And so like that's what when you have movies like this that are so much older, and like the expectation of films Hollywood was kind of, it's where the streets are paved with gold and it's Tinseltown. And so it was very much seen as this sort of, separate entity that didn't take itself too seriously. But then you had like Hitchcock come in, and he sort of just like completely changed what film could be. And then you had like 80s action films where special effects really started, like set mid to late 70s and into the big 80s films that we know and love, and even into the early 90s. Like special effects started taking on a whole new meaning. And yes, they were practical, they weren't CGI, but those were still special effects at the time.
This film is all practical effects.
Yes, this is
I mean, it's pre-digital era anyway.
Yep.
But there's no. I mean, you could still cheat stuff. You could still paint planes on windows, and like they did in Bridge Too Far and that kind of thing. But there's none of that. But one of the things that's interesting to know about the time that it was released, 83 was just as that shift was happening. So it was before Beverly Hills Cop came out, which was a real benchmark of a real game changer in terms of the kind of action films that were going to get produced, that led to things like Commando, that led to Predator, that led to Die Hard, and so on. But this came out before all that, and tonally it was completely different. And actually in the 80s, there are very few other films that are action sort of movies that are tonally in the same ballpark as this. They're more of your kind of your Commando and your Die Hard and that kind of thing. There's not many that are in the same ballpark as Uncommon Valor. There's quite a few cheap rip-offs that came out straight to video after this, like Skull Crossbone Territory and and there was Missing in Action with Chuck Norris.
I remember that one. Yep.
Yeah, which was a year after, and plus Missing in Action 2, plus Missing in Action 3. All of which I've seen. They weren't terrible, though. It's a Chuck Norris film. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but it's just Chuck Norris.
It's Chuck Norris, so it's not. It's in a different camp to this, and camp being a word that is kind of in the Chuck Norris camp, if you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a bit camp. But maybe we should talk about the origins of this film, because you know about the Wings Hauser story, right? Do you know about that?
No.
So if you want to look up Wings Hauser and maybe get his image up there, he's an actor that people are going to recognize, and he's got a very famous son who is in quite a bit of stuff at the minute. So Wings Hauser, there he is.
Oh my word!
Yeah. So now he was he was on the up in the 70s and 80s, and he kind of at some point he sort of slipped into the B movie area, but he's got a very Cole Hauser's his son, who's in Cole Hauser is in Yellowstone, I believe.
Yeah,
right. He's one of the leads in Yellowstone. Cole Hauser's a phenomenal actor. I'm sure his dad's very proud of him. So Wings Hauser wrote the original script. See, I told you I knew all the stories about this film. Wings Hauser wrote the original script for Uncommon Valor. Okay.
Wow.
He pitched it round Hollywood. He did it all on his own. He pitched it round Hollywood. No one wanted it because it was like, Vietnam. And as somebody, I think Raj Williams, who's chucking in a lot of very helpful comments, and thank you for reminding me, Dale Dye, who trained up one of my friends on Band of Brothers. That's a whole other story.
Okay.
And then he couldn't get anyone to pick it up. But then the producer who got interested was Milus, the guy who produced Red Dawn. I think it's John Milus.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce his name, John Milus. And Hauser and Milus had a massive falling out, and there is a quote on the internet. I'll read it out to you, so I'm not misquoting him. John Milus is a scumbag, right-wing bastard, and I can't wait for his day to die. That son of a bitch. The other guy got the credit. He was a punk. I don't think he sold anything since, and he's a joke. So obviously Wings Hauser wasn't very happy about this, but the script was inspired by his friends that served in Vietnam and told him these stories about their friends that got left behind. And that opening scene where some of them get on the chopper and some wounded guys don't, that was inspired by a real incident that one of his friends told him. And I think the core story remained in the film, but a lot of the stuff like the Shakespeare speeches and the characterization and a lot of that stuff came from the second writer who got brought on, who was a guy called Joe Gayton. And Hauser's right. Joe Gayton's done almost nothing. since, but he got the main screenplay credit, which seemed really unfair because Hauser clearly wrote most of it, and I think he came in and did a repolish. So Hauser fell out. I guess he got paid a fee, and that was the end of his involvement in the movie. But the movie starts with Wings Hauser, so we can't do a stream about this without mentioning that guy, because it was his film, it was his idea. He took the scripts around.
I didn't know about that.
And I know all about getting ripped off by producers. So this is a common story in Hollywood. It happens to a lot of people, you know.
That's so. To sort of segue off of that, to kind of piggyback off of that, like that's sort of why Eric D. July, and I'm guessing you probably approve of this approach, since it sounds like you've had issues with producers and stuff like that. Yeah, where Eric. Young Ripa, if any of you don't know, he's making something called the Ripaverse, but he is basically taking everything on himself so that he doesn't have to deal with creative theft like that.
No, I mean, it's a hard road to do that, but I get it. I completely get why he's doing that. Totally.
Yeah, when he said that, because I was like, man, he's been announced, like he announced the Ripaverse, I think over a year ago now. And he's like, yep, we're working on it. We're doing this. But then when you find out that he's building a website, he's doing his own warehouse. They're taking care of their own merch. They're taking care of their own printing, their own, like he has in-house artists. He's written and or reviewed like all the stories and stuff like that. When you listen to how involved he is to avoid this exact thing from happening, it makes complete sense. And after hearing that story, I can't say that I blame him, especially with the way that Hollywood is today. I mean, first of all, this script, Uncommon Valor would not get made today. I think we can both agree on that.
I mean, it wouldn't, because there's really only one woman in the film, and that. Oh no, that's a lie. There are three. There's Gene Hackman's wife, who's kind of who bookends the movie, Gail Strickland, and then there's two twin girls who are the daughters of the guide. I nearly forgot about them.
Yes.
And I remember that scene with Charts, Tim Thomerson, where he snuggles up next to one of them at night, and she pulls out a knife and puts it in his throat.
Puts it on his throat.
Just try to stay warm. Honestly, I'm not up to anything. And he was trying it on, but
I was just cold.
I was just cold, honest to God. But yeah, and actually, they've got almost no dialogue in the film, and I think they were local actresses. But I really remember that I don't want to do any spoilers for the ending, but I remember their story arc quite well. And the girl has got like 3-4 lines, but you really feel for her at the end. When you know what she goes through. She goes on the mission with them, and the outcome for her is not great.
No, guys, like I said, this movie, I mean,
but maybe we should start talking through the film.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to give
this is all great
away.
Stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away about the film, because this is something like you really have to watch this film. I don't want to call this a dark film, but it's also not light. It's
got some comedy in it, but within the context of real life. Like, you're going to have light moments and jokes with fellow soldiers when you're training for a mission. And the film is 3 halves, really. It's that 3-act structure of a typical script. The first third is my son alive? Can I find the proof? And he finds proof that he thinks his son is alive. The middle third of the movie is getting the unit together and training them, and then the last third is the mission.
And I think really the pacing of this film, the few parts where I thought I was like, oh man, like the pacing isn't quite as tight here, but the payoff, like it makes sense why the pacing is, I think, that way.
One of the criticisms I often hear of the film Heat, with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, which is Michael Mann's finest film, probably. And no one wanted to give him the money to make it, by the way. But once he got Pacino and De Niro in it, they were like, all right, then we will let you make that film you made in the 80s and went straight to video called LA Takedown that was really a bit naff. But okay, we'll let you remake it. The reason that you're so heavily invested in that movie and that amazing gunfight at the end, is you're really invested in the arcs of the both characters on both sides of the fight. So you're not even sure who to root for, but you know you want them to both succeed, which is impossible because they're both trying to kill each other. This is, I mean, it's one side of the story only, but the reason you when characters in this film die, you feel it.
Yes.
And there's another film which you might not have seen, and that can be another one that you can watch, and then we can talk about it, called The Wild Geese, which is a British action movie. And it's got a very similar structure to this film. It's got a very similar script. It's about a load of guys, old friends, meeting up, going on a mission. They're a bit too old for it, and they're going to rescue a political leader. They get betrayed, and then they have to fight their way out of Africa. It's the best British action film ever made. It's got a couple of really dated scenes early on, like a really dodgy 60s disco party and this kind of thing. but don't let that put you off. Once they get to Africa, the film's amazing. When characters die in that movie, you're like, oh no. And it's one of those films like when you watch it again, and I get the same thing with Uncommon Valor, when you watch the film again, you're hoping this will be the time you watch it where that guy survives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because my favorite character in this, he gets killed. And I was like, no, when he died, I was so upset. And that's you know, that shows you how good the movie is. It got you invested in that guy, and now he's gone. So you can see people in the chat. Paul Bustle, I love The Wild Geese. I mean, it's an amazing film, and a lot of people haven't seen it because it's so old. It's 1977, but the stars: Richard Harris, Richard Burton. These are the Leonardo DiCaprios of their day. You know, they were the biggest stars on the planet. He was married to Elizabeth Taylor. And you know, you really feel it when the characters get killed in that film, and you're so rooting for them to get on this plane at the end, and some get on and some don't, you know. And Sir Roger Moore, thank you very much, Raj Williams. Roger Moore also in that film, also in The Wild Geese. We'll do a stream about that next time. Where you're getting distracted. So this shot here, this is from the beginning.
The movie. This is this would make if I dreamt about this, I'd wake up in cold sweats too, quite frankly.
A really brilliantly shot scene. It was filmed in Hawaii. All of the Vietnam scenes were filmed in Hawaii, except for, I think, some of the early stuff in the cities. But all the stuff, all the rescue stuff and all of that was all filmed in Hawaii. And this paddy field was right next to the prison camp set. So the prison camp set is literally about 20 yards that way, just out of shot. So you'll probably be able to see this same paddy field in some of the wide shots during the rescue mission.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's economy of filmmaking, isn't it? You try and get all your sets as close as you can. And
now you don't even build sets. Everything is just blue and green screen. I think, was it Christopher Lee or was it Ian McClellan that said that they just don't understand they don't understand how actors can work like this anymore. But one of them, I can't remember if it was Christopher Lee before he died, if it was Ian McClellan, but one of them said that he just because it was while they were working on The Hobbit, and like with Lord of the Rings, they still had a lot of practical sets and minis and everything like that. But it was one of them while they were working on The Hobbit, and everything was basically like, you know, they talked to him and they were like, well, 80% of the movie's already shot. We just need you to say your lines here, and you know, this is the context of what's happening. And roll with it. And I guess by like day 3, I don't remember which one of them it was, but they were like, I can't do this. Like, I can't act against nothing.
I have a feeling that they were both of that opinion.
I'm sure they were, but I think one of them said it publicly.
Yeah, I can't remember which. One of them definitely did. I mean, Christopher Lee was not. You know, he would not hold back his opinion about something. So there's a good possibility it was him. But, you know, I mean, somebody in chat saying it was Sir Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're both sirs. So Ian McKellen
Apologies.
called my mobile phone one time. So
What was
could
that
I speak
like?
to Lance Nielsen, please? Who's that? Ian McKellen here. I was
Oh,
like,
my word.
fuck! And I was in a park surrounded by all these people, and the two towers had just come out. And I just
I
wanted to
lost
scream.
my
I just wanted
ever-loving.
to like scream, Gandalf's on my phone right now. And I was on my own as well. I wasn't even with any friends or anything.
Oh,
It's so funny.
that's amazing. Gosh,
Yeah.
you've got some of the best stories. I love
I've
it.
got quite a few little ones like that that are really silly, but yeah.
That's not silly. That's
Sorry,
awesome.
nothing to do with Uncommon Valor. Let's
Hey,
move on. And
that's okay. I mean, great acting. Great acting has to do with Uncommon Valor. I think
Ah.
Gene Hackman, especially, like,
he's amazing. He's my
he
favorite
is
actor of all time, by the way.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I have to say, like, when there's something about his voice, because when he does, like, when actors monologue, especially when it's supposed to be like an empowering speech, you cannot fake that. Like, that's not something that can be learned or taught. Like, can you make someone a good orator? Sure. But actually being able to inspire someone, especially through a screen, and have them believe and have the audience believe it, that is not something that comes natural for everyone. That is not something that happens and you do well. Have you ever seen oh gosh, Snow White and the Huntsman?
I have. But
All right.
he wasn't in that though, right?
No.
No.
But so what, but in this scene, so if you think about Gene Hackman in this movie, right? And how because he doesn't even really have, I won't say it's like a rallying cry, but like he is able to just, with that, like his conviction and his confidence, he's able to instill that in his men, right?
He just, I mean, he has a commanding presence
Exactly
on any role that he's in, and actually a director who, I don't want to say who it was, but a director who worked with him, because he knew one of my big ambitions in life was to work with Gene Hackman, and I wrote Gene and I told him that, and I wrote to him via his wife's furniture shop as well, just in case the agent didn't pass the letter on to him. So I did a double-fronted attack. But yeah, I mean, this director told a friend of mine who told me that, yeah, you know, it was great working with Hackman, but you don't direct Hackman. Hackman directs you. So you know,
I believe that.
I believe that too. He wasn't the most versatile actor on the planet,
but he doesn't need to be.
He makes he makes roles his own, doesn't he? He makes them him rather than the other way around. But that's fine because it works 95% of the time.
And that's the thing. Like, I've said this before, when it comes to, like, tropes are tropes for a reason. And if you're an actor, and I won't say Gene Hackman is most certainly not like a one-trick pony.
Oh no, absolutely not.
But he is not someone that you put in like a non-authoritative role. Like, you're not going to put him in a role that's submissive or back burner or something like that, because he's just, his presence, like you said, is just too commanding. But he also works really well with ensemble like the whole cast just sort of works really well with him.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's not like he outshines them or overpowers them or anything like that, but it's like everybody else gets elevated to his level. And it's just amazing to watch this whole thing happen. And when he, even when he gives just his little, like, speeches, like, when it's we're gonna do this, like, we don't have like, we are here, we are gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, you're with me or you're not, but like, we're not leaving anybody behind again. And it's just like, it's not like he's trying to, it isn't a Helm's Deep speech, it isn't a it isn't Men of the West speech, but it's so much more than that, because it's like
more grounded within the reality of the movie. Listen, let me dash to the bathroom real quick while you continue and whack up the next slide, but I'll be really fast.
I'll do a super chat and donation while you're gone. So Kindle's missing Y chromosome for $5. Thank you so much, sir. Says, hail the Rippaverse. Also, the lady needs her own X-ray girl. I mean, yeah, like, or I need a me. I just have to remember to hit the button. Like, I have never forgotten to hit the button. I had started I was ready to go. I was on my way. Let's do this. And I was about 30 seconds in, maybe not quite that much, about 15 seconds into the trailer before I realized I hadn't hit the go live button. So that's fun. That's grand. But woo, there's your Patrick Swayze.
And I'm back again already.
There's Scott. And you're back again. Well, I just did a Kinnell's Missing Y Chromosome did a $5 super chat. And Cal G donated another $3. Thank you. Thank you, Cal G. Says, speaking of casting, I forgot to mention this. The casting for this film was done in part by Lynn Stallmaster. Without him, we wouldn't have gotten Christopher Reeve as the last son of Krypton, Gene Hackman as Lex, or Terrence Stamp as Zod. Crazy, I know. Well, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I didn't check to see who the casting director was, and casting directors don't get enough credit. I think they'd... Am I right in thinking they're going to be giving an Oscar out in that category soon? I think they might be.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah,
I believe that's a new category.
My casting director's Sharon Sorrentino, and when we compare lists of actors for roles, she's always completely in sync with me in terms of like the choices of people that I was thinking of. But she will also come up with people that I never have thought of. And she's, you know, casting directors are one of their jobs is spotting up and coming talent. Now, Patrick Swayze had already done, I think he'd already done, did Red Dawn? No, Red Dawn was 84.
Red Dawn was 84.
So he hadn't done Red Dawn yet. So he was still a bit of an unknown quantity at this time. He certainly wasn't a big star, but he's got a really fantastic part in this movie, and he's a young he's the young recruit in the team. He's the one that hasn't been to Vietnam, and the older guys in the squad give him a really hard time. And there comes to a point where he has a fight with Sailor, who's played by Randall Tex Cobb, who a lot of people will remember from that great Coen movie, Raising Arizona, as the hitman in that, who blows up the little creatures on the side of the road. Yes. But he's they have this face off, they have this fight, and it's like, why do you want to go back to Vietnam, boy? Why? And then Gene Hackman says that line from the top of the hill. Do you remember that scene?
Yes. Hang on. Hold on. Let me see.
I don't know if we want to spoil that fact, but Gene Hackman stands at the top of the hill. He's been watching the fight.
Yes, that's one of the ones that I've been trying not to. Guys,
should I? Yeah, maybe I should.
Do it. No, go ahead. Do it.
Because he lost his father in Vietnam, missing in action. That's why. So. Yeah,
it's so good.
It's great. You are wondering, but you're thinking along those lines. And I think when I was watching it, I think I was thinking probably that, because he's probably of that age that he could have his dad over there. And does he find his dad? You'll have to watch the.
You have to find out.
It's so weird, isn't it? He was the youngest member of the cast, and he was the first of the guys in the squad to die in real life. Which is weird. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
You know? Duskin does not speak. Sally can't stay, but a great stream. Oh, that's really kind to say.
Thank you, Duskin. Well, you get some rest. 02 is really.
Oh, I know Eric. I know Eric K, who's just come in.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, I see Eric in quite a few other streams. So
he is the golden wrench of the West.
The golden wrench. It's funny. I used to use the term wrench. We call those spanners.
Yeah.
In the UK. So
the first time I ever heard that terminology, I thought that they actually wanted, because there is a tool here in America called a spanner.
Well, it can also mean the phrase tool, like, oh, you're a total tool, you're a total spanner is the same thing over here. So good to see Eric K. And I'm gonna call you King of the Spanners whenever I see you.
I think like that's the thing about this film is Gene Hackman's lines in particular. I mean, honestly,
he's got some great lines. Tim Thomerson's got some great lines.
Yes, the whole there's lines that kind of dark. There's dark humor in this film. It's unavoidable. It's a Vietnam film, and it's it's casting these men. Like I said, it's one of the first ones that I remember where Vietnam vets were not cast in this baby killer negative light. These were men who survived hell, who were now going back to hell to save their sons, their brothers.
It's about rescuing their friends, really. It didn't make a political statement about the the war. The movie didn't get into all that. So I was quite surprised that the American army and the government de facto refused the film any military help whatsoever.
Yeah.
So all the helicopters that you see in the movie, the production unit had to buy them for real.
Yep.
So they bought, I think they bought 2 or 3 Hueys,
Mhm.
and had them restored and got them in flying condition.
Wow.
And I think they got some other helicopters off a private collector. And of course, Tim Thomerson is one of the pilots, and Harold Sylvester is the other one. It actually, in some shots, it really looks like Thomerson is flying. I don't know if he did. I don't know if he did a Tom Cruise, and he certainly did it way ahead of Tom Cruise if he did. But in some of the shots, it really does look like he's flying. But I think he's in the jump, the co-pilot seat, and it's kind of the guy who's flying is probably in the other seat. But
yeah,
it does look really nice the way they've shot all those scenes.
Yeah, this movie's actually really well shot. Like a lot of gripes I hear from 70s and 80s movies is like how it's like they're trying, because they're, again, guys, like this is before digital, so it's not like in post that they could just like digitally edit something out. They had like,
no, I mean there's a couple of really big explosions in it, and they're real, they haven't added any there's no Marvel flames
no
on top of the
there's a building that gets literally leveled in this movie. And
there's a few buildings.
Patrick
Swayze levels, I think 3 or 4 of them with his recoilless rifle, didn't he?
Yes, but I think those ones, because the one I'm thinking of is an they actually leveled a building, and then the other ones they were sort of just like tinderbox buildings is what we've called them before, but like a literal building got leveled for this, and they only had one shot. Like they couldn't tinderbox build this building back. Like they needed it for a specific. They needed this specific shot, and they had one go at this sucker. So I think the like a lot of the magic that comes from this is you realizing that these stunts are them, like, or stunt, like these are practical stunts. These are practical special effects. And especially when it comes to, like you were saying, Outcast, with like the helicopter shots. That's some
great
talent.
Stuff. Some great stuff there.
That is, aerial shots are not what they used to be. It's very hard now to find someone with that skill set from 70s, 80s, and 90s, because now it's like, oh, we'll just fix it in post. Oh, we'll just fix it in production. Like,
I mean, there's a shot with one where it gets hit and it breaks up and nosedives into the river, if you know the bit that I mean, and practically snaps in half. I think, but I'm not sure. I think, and I've tried to find out many times, that's a miniature, and there might be a photograph of it. It's one of those type. It's one of those type. But it's a military one. It's painted green. It's probably one of those actually painted green, I would imagine.
Probably.
And it takes a hit in the tail, and the tail breaks in half, and it nosedives into the river. But because you've got such big remote control helicopters available, they can do a lot of great shots. Like most of the helicopters on Bond films, when you see them blowing up, like on The Spy Who Loved Me and those kind of movies, those are usually remote controlled. Miniatures. You're talking big models. You're talking like 3 feet. And because of that size, they've got that size. They look. You can put them in a shot, and they will look. If you frame them right and you put them the right distance from the camera and the right perspective, they'll look like the real machines, and you can blow them up to your heart's content. And people are like, "Oh my god, they blew up a real helicopter!" And that's what you want people to think.
Exactly, that's what you want them to think. You don't want them to think that it looks like CGI garbage.
I mean, there's none of that in this at all.
No, and it's and I think Raj said it in the chat earlier, but this was like, Vietnam was still really fresh for a lot of people when this movie was made.
Yeah, because it was only, I mean, the fall of Saigon was 68.
68.
And it was, I think there were still bits and pieces going on up until about 72, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So you're talking 10 years after it was all done and dusted. But the missing troops thing was an ongoing issue. I mean, your Governor Kerry was involved in that right through to the 90s.
Yep, and it's there's still bones of Americans that are over in Vietnam, and like it was never, the thing about Vietnam is it was classified as a conflict and not a war. And so a lot of those men, especially who got jungle fever, as they call it, or you know, it's like they were exposed to napalm, Agent Orange and stuff like that, and now they've got holes all over their lungs. But a lot of those men got cheated out of a lot of stuff because of the way that the government classified it. And, you know, they came home and it wasn't like when World War II or World War I, even Korea was better than Vietnam. Like when they came home from Vietnam, they got spit on, they got told to go home. And, you know, if anybody is curious why Fonda, what people like the running thing where like Americans are not fond of Fonda, it's because, and I don't know if this is true or if this is one of the tall tales that gets passed down in the military, but apparently she was able to go over and talk to some POWs, and they handed her notes and letters to give to loved ones, and then she turned them over to the people who were running the POW camp.
I'm not sure that's exactly. I don't think that's exactly what happened.
That's what I say.
I think they gave her stuff, and she was searched, and you know, because I mean, what you saw in front of the cameras and what went on when the cameras were off were two completely different things. And she was a really young girl, you know. You got to keep these things in perspective. When I was 20, 22, I did all kinds of crazy shit, man. And you're not a fully rounded person at that age. You're still growing. You're still finding yourself. You make a lot of mistakes. But if you're in a position of power where you feel you have a voice, and you're being bombarded by images every week of burning kids with their flesh dripping off them naked, running down the street in a country that is being bombed by military forces of your country, it's not surprising that she felt she wanted to do something, right or wrong. She felt that was what she wanted to do. So I get it. You know, I wasn't in it, and I wasn't in her shoes, and I'm not, you know, I'm not an American. So, but I mean, look, the best way to get an overview of the conflict in Vietnam is to watch the recent. I think it was HBO that made. There was a really good 10-part documentary series done by HBO, and then there was another one done by Netflix. They're decades apart. But the recent one is the most comprehensive one I've ever seen, that covers absolutely everything. And it's really ingratiating, not just you don't need to be a historian to be into it. You know, friends of mine were watching it, and they found it really interesting. They wanted to see the next episode as soon as it finished. And that will give you a really good perspective on all of that. And it covers the Fonda story in one of the episodes really heavily. Yeah. And, you know, so... But,
well, hey, no, that's fine. It's, you know, it's good to hear it from people's perspective. I don't know that I'm biased so much as I just have a different take on it, mostly because one of my uncle's best friends was a POW in Nam. And so we have we have a very different perspective of Jane Fonda in my family.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I get that. And listen, if it's true that she did that, it's indefensible. I mean, I'll say that now. But what I'm saying is, I don't know the truth of that, and I suspect a lot of other people don't either. You know, and
that's why I said I don't know
unless you were there. Unless you were there,
I don't know how true. That's why I said I don't know if that's a story that just got passed down in the military and got embellished. That's why I always lead with that, because the Jane Fonda thing seems to always sort of people seem to go one way or the other with it. But like I said, in my family specifically, I know I know how it feels in my family, basically, when it comes to it. But
I met a lot of vets when I first went to the States, and the cab driver who funnily enough became my go-to cabbie to drive me around in Florida. I was like, I gotta go theme park, and he became my guy, and I can't remember his name, but he was an African American guy, and he was telling me all these stories. I just couldn't believe, like, you can't sleep with the girls in. No. You couldn't go and sleep with the girls because they put razor blades in their, nether regions and to cut up your cock. And I was like, what the fuck?
My grandfather,
stuff like that, man. That's so fucked up.
My grandfather, he said that they couldn't accept anything from because so my grandfather, so I have my grandfather fought in Korea, and then I have a great uncle and an uncle, and so a lot of military history in my family, basically. But when my grandfather was in Korea, he said that you couldn't take anything from anyone. Like, they would hand you a sealed container, or it would it would be perfectly sealed, right? You'd put it in water, and if you saw air bubbles, it meant that it wasn't sealed, and so it wasn't safe, right? That was the general practice. What they would do is they started getting smart. They would cut the bottom of the canisters off, and they would put the poison into, whether it was water or food or whatever, they put it in through the bottom, and then they would weld it back shut. And so there'd be no air bubbles. And so they would think that it was sealed, and they would eat it. And so he was a tank mechanic with the Army on the 38th parallel. So he saw some serious stuff. But yeah, it was like, he was like, we couldn't, if it didn't come from our ration tent, we could not safely consume it. And it, like, just to have that sort of mentality, be like, okay, this is a guy that I've fought next to. He's offering me his canteen, and I can't take it because he could be a plant and I might just not know it. Like, to live like that is just insane to me. And I think Korea and Vietnam both get just, I don't want to say overlooked per se, because I think everybody's aware that those conflicts happened. But I don't think the gravity of what actually went on for those men has actually resonates with people. So I think that's why I really appreciate this movie.
Yeah, I think Korea is probably more overlooked than Vietnam.
Korea is definitely,
we haven't had, and somebody mentioned the Ken Burns documentary, and thank you for that, because that was the earlier one I was thinking of, and then you've had the more recent one. We haven't had one like that on Korea. We've had a couple of great movies about the Korean War, and we've had some really good ones from Korean cinema. Brothers, I would recommend in particular. There's a couple of others. The names escape me, though. I'll mention them if I come back to them. But while you've got this next batch of stills up, let's talk about two quite big name cameos that a lot of people probably don't know about that are in this movie. So two of them occur in the scene when they're doing the recruiting scene, and you can see at the top left there, you've got Gene Hackman recruiting Blaster, who's played by Red Brown. And Red Brown would sort of go on to be a sort of B-movie action guy and do Cole the Conqueror. And now he was also in one of my favorite films of all time. He was in The Sword and the Sorcerer, which I have got the vinyl soundtrack for right here.
Oh my God, you have! I love it.
I do, yeah. And this is the UK one. I've got a UK cinema quad for this as well. This is all my vinyl is currently in the shed, but you know what? We'll do another show and I'll get it all out.
Yes,
I've got so many. I've got like 10 James Horner. So the guy in the background, he's like running a sort of dirt bike place for kids, right? And in the background of that, there is a guy fixing a bike. And the guy fixing the bike in the background is none other than Michael Dudikoff. And if you don't know that name, he was a big B-movie action star in the 80s, early 90s. He did the American Ninja series for Canon Films, Golden and Globus. But his first movie appearance was in Tom Hanks's first leading role movie, which was Bachelor Party, which I also lied about for my age to go and get to see the cinema because I was 18. I had to lie. It was Double Bill Revenge of the Nerds, really good. And and Michael Dudikoff played sort of one of the stag gang, one of the kind of, they're all going out for the stag night, the bachelor party night, and he's in that, and he's actually really funny in it. It's the only time I've ever really seen him do comedy, and he was a big sort of martial arts guy, and I think he did the Van Damme thing where he went into the Golan and Glover's office and sort of did some martial arts shit and said, give me a movie to do. And they gave him American Ninja, and he did quite well out of that. And I think he did a few other films for them. And I don't know if he's still working now. I haven't seen him in anything for a long time. But so he's in the background. In the same shot, there are a couple of kids working on their bikes. And I think one of them's got one line, and he says something and said, Blaster, fix my bike for me or whatever. That kid is Barrett Oliver from the film Neverending Story. So you've got the main kid from Neverending Story in that little scene in the background, along with American Ninja in the same scene. It's bizarre. These two extras. Michael Dudikoff's lines were even cut, I think. So I don't think Michael Dudikoff even has any lines. So yeah, and Barrett Oliver so those two people that had cameos in it, and then also the ferryman who takes them across the river. There's an actor called Jeremy Kemp, British actor, really well known.
Yes, I know him. Yep.
He was in A Bridge Too Far. He's in the scene with Gene Hackman in A Bridge Too Far, not Gene Hackman's finest hour, where he plays the Polish commander Sasabowski, who's a great hero in real life. And Jeremy Kemp's kind of talking to them about where they might land, and that's got to be over 10 miles from the bridge. No, just under 8 actually, sir. This kind of thing. Jeremy Kemp's dialogue in the movie he had a massive scene, and I think he had 2 scenes, and I think he's like in one shot in the film now. I believe there's a longer cut of the film that's got his main scene in it, but I've never been able to find it.
Huh.
So there you go. Told you I knew all the stories of.
This is amazing. No, this is great because, like, I mean, you have so much more in-depth knowledge about this film than I do. I mean, this film, like I said, hits home for me for a couple of reasons. But like this still right here, where
that's on set, isn't it? Is that fucking on set production still?
They're on production set.
That's great.
Still,
I've seen
like,
that picture before.
To be able to see stuff like this and how, because like Gene's got the script in his hand and they're like all working together. But then if you look down here, like there were actually a lot of, I won't say a lot because if you compare it to like today, but having as many kid actors on set as this film did was really surprising because it made you like, that's when I'm talking about like the authenticity of this film, that's what I'm getting at. Like Vietnam was really, Korea too, but Vietnam was really, there was no one was untouched by this war. Like it was.
Well, you see that in Fred Ward's character, and let's just give a real big shout out to Fred Ward, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. One of my favorite character actors of all time, Remo, Unarmed and Dangerous. But one of the things that's really nice about his story, because the characters are all very different. Some of them get more screen time than others of the 7 guys. Yeah. But he's got PTSD. Yep. And he was a tunnel rat, and now he finds enclosed spaces really difficult, and he has episodes. But in the mission, because they remember he's a tunnel rat, and of course soldiers back then didn't talk about PTSD. He's sent down this tunnel to kind of get closer to the camp to do a recon and all the rest of it. So he has that going on. So that's quite nice that they included that, because there's a couple of characters that have got ghosts haunting them. I think the big guy Sailor has got some ghosts as well. We don't kind of really get into what his are, but we know they're there. Yeah. Yeah, there's Fred Ward. Oh man, I was so cut up when I heard he passed away.
That's
would have loved to. Wouldn't you have loved to have interviewed him? What a career!
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. An amazing man and an amazing actor. And the thing is, like back then, it wasn't called PTSD. It was called jungle fever.
Right.
Or there's some other names for
French foot and French foot in World War One, and shell shock
from World War II. Fog of war it's also like they were like, oh, it's the fog. He hasn't been able to clear the fog of war, and it's and so now it's sort of they're realizing that it's all PTSD. This, oh gosh, I can't. My brain froze for a second.
That's right.
It was called something else during Desert. Oh gosh, what was that called?
Oh, Desert Storm.
Yeah, they called it something else.
Yeah, they did. I can't
My
remember
brain,
now.
but my brain has shut off.
Yeah.
Raj, battle fatigue, but not quite the same thing.
No,
There
but
was
yeah,
something
very similar to that though.
Yeah, there was something.
very, very similar to that.
So now what they're finding out, because the VA is finally talking to Vietnam vets, guys, I'm dead serious. Like the VA wanted nothing to do with Vietnam and Korean vets. They basically wrote them off.
Well, I mean, that fantastic sequence in Born on the 4th of July, which, by the way, is one of my all-time favorite historical movies. And
thank you, little Chad. That's what it was. Gulf War Syndrome.
Gulf War Syndrome. That was it.
Yep.
And Tom Cruise, I would, I was probably the only British guy that was kind of gutted that he didn't get the actor, because Daniel got the Oscar. Daniel Day-Lewis got the Oscar that year for My Left Foot, and I wasn't a big fan of that film, and I really wanted Cruise to win it. But his performance in Born on the 4th of July is just absolutely outstanding. People think he's not a serious actor. Just watch that movie. But there's a whole scene set in the VA where he's in this rotating thing and he's upside down. And then you've got nurses who are on the take who are kind of having sex with the patients who are disabled, not full sex, obviously, because they're not capable of it. These are people that are paralyzed from the waist down. But that was a whole big thing, that they would take money off them and do whatever. And the conditions of that place were just they were
horrific.
Abominable. Just
It's the
medieval.
The VA, guys, the reason the VA gets such a bad rap, PTSD, they could have figured out what it was, and that because there's still there's not many left, but there are still World War II vets who are alive. Okay. But they called it shell shock when it was World War II. And then it was jungle fever or orange haze is when it was Vietnam. And then for Korea, it was fog of war, or like when you had like the Frozen Chosen, it like they would be like, oh, that's just, oh gosh, Vietnam winter disorder, like that, or not Korean winter disorder. There was a whole bunch of different things that they called it, but all of these men, because they finally started talking to Vietnam and Korean vets after all of this horrible publicity that had come out about the VA, all of it. Gary, by the way, huge, massive. If there was ever someone who should lead the VA and would absolutely fix it, it would be Gary Sinise. What that man has done for veterans.
Oh yeah, that all came about after
Forrest
Tom
Gump.
Hanks. Yeah, Forrest Gump. Right, he got really involved, didn't he? And,
he did. And
yeah, I've always really rated him as an actor. You need to see him in Midnight Clear if you've not seen Midnight Clear.
A long time ago, but yes, I remember.
That's directed by a friend of mine called Keith Gordon. Keith Gordon played Arnie in the film Christine, the adaptation of Stephen King, with the car that goes around killing people.
Yep. I'll have to
rewatch it. That's another movie I've got all the onset stories for. And Ethan Hawke was in that.
God,
really
Ethan
young
Hawke,
Ethan Hawke, really young Gary Sinise, Air Grows, great cast.
Yeah, Gary Sinise is just what he has done for veterans has blown the VA out of the water. I mean, it's truly stunning to see what one man can do when you're genuinely dedicated to the cause and you actually care and you devote yourself to it. That man has been incredible for veterans, and that he is a very large part of the reason why Vietnam vets and subsequently Korean vets started getting assistance from the VA in the first place. Because when he played Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump, and he went to go meet with some of these vets and to find, because like that's what you did back then, like you actually did research for your role. I know that's shocking for some people, but like, you actually researched your role and you wanted to do it justice. And so when he took on that role and he started talking to, first of all, to start, it was hard for him to find Vietnam vets who would talk to him because he wasn't a Vietnam vet himself. And so a lot of people were like, well, we don't want an imposter. We don't want like you to have imposter syndrome. We don't want you to claim that you're actually a Vietnam vet when you're not, because that was a thing too. Like
that's a thing with World War II as well. There was I was involved in this World War II movie for a while, and I interviewed 10 veterans. I've got them all on film still. They're all dead now, which is so sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, that's a whole other story. But one of them was I met the son of the radio operator from this particular mission, and this guy had to send out this code word, ham and jam, when this bridge was captured. And you can, those people that are watching, if you've seen the black and white film The Longest Day, 1962, Daryl Zanuck production, amazing movie. John Wayne and every other star on the planet from that era is in it. You can see this sequence that I'm talking about, which is the capture of Pegasus Bridge. Anyway, so this guy was at the memorial. I think this was on the 25th, so this was in the 80s or something. And this guy was going, "Oh yeah, that was me." And this bloke's like, "No, it wasn't. That's my father you're talking about." And I think I know my father. And this guy was what we call a Walter Mitty, which a Walter Mitty is, I know it's the name of a movie, but in the UK it actually means the name of a person who impersonates or pretends to be someone of importance with a military background, or pretends to have served in the forces. And I got, every time I would go somewhere, because World War II is a big thing with me. I've got a Tiger tank sitting behind it up there. And there's one there, and there's some more. There's another one over there.
You have so much cool stuff.
And then there's another one there. And there's more there's more in the shed.
Oy vey.
But you know, I'd always get asked, "Oh, where have you served?" Because I'd be quite knowledgeable, and they'd always assume I was ex-forces. I don't know why, because I'm skinny as a rake and haven't got a muscle on me, you know. So
you'd be surprised how many guys are like that, though.
Well, no, I would, yeah, but I just straight away I'd be like, "Look, no, my father served in the military, but I you know, I don't have any service to my name. I'm sorry, but I do have a really strong interest in the subject and seeing it told well, and that's what I like about this film, is it tells the story really, really well.
It does an excellent job, and it captures, especially because the ensemble cast is quite large. I mean, there's 7 or there's 8 of them. 7 of them.
I think is it 7 or 8 with Gene Hackman?
With Gene Hackman, I think it makes 8, but I could be miscounting. One.
So it's Gene Hackman, Fred Ward, Red Brown, Randall Tex Cobb, Patrick Swayze, Harold Sylvester, Tim Thomason. No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
7.
So yeah,
there's some other characters.
Yeah, and then if you want like the guides and everything, yeah. But for the core ensemble cast being that large, the fact that you actually care about all of them, and that the story is told really well, and each individual story. I mean, like, you know, we've already talked about it, but that line where, you know, it's Scott and Cobb's, they're fighting, and then Gene Hackman delivers that line from the hill. It's just like, I mean, you get so, like, there's so much that we didn't need this huge monologue. We didn't need this giant backstory. It spoke straight to your heart. He was like, he lost his father. His father's MIA. Like, it just boom. Like, it didn't take, you know, 16 minutes of dialogue and and
real case of less is more.
Exactly. And it was so powerful, and the fact that you care so much about every single one of these characters, and you want them all to make it home, but you know they're not gonna. It's almost like a piece of you has died with them, if that makes any sense. And it's like, that's part of what I love about this movie so much. And you know, I think the score also is really powerful.
The score is a great soundtrack, and it is available for anyone who wants it, by James Horner. Interesting story behind that as well is that Ted, I think it was either Milius or Koscheff. So this film is directed by Ted Kotcheff, and if anyone doesn't know what else he's done, he did First Blood, the first Rambo film, which is called First Blood. It's not called Rambo First Blood. It's just called First Blood. Some people call it Rambo First Blood. So he did that, and I think he got offered this film on the back of that. But there was an argument about who was going to do the soundtrack. And John Milius, who, if you believe Wings Hauser, sounds like a bit of a see you next Tuesday. Sounds like he was quite difficult to work with. But he picked, I think there was somebody else was originally going to do the score, and Horner came on a bit late. And don't forget, James Horner was not a massive composer at this time. So we're talking 1983, hadn't done the soundtrack to Cocoon yet. And which was that was the one. I got that on vinyl too, by the way. So the big score that he had done that got him a lot of attention. I don't know if you know which one it was, but it was Battle Beyond the Stars, Roger Corman's answer to the Magnificent Seven with Robert Vaughn and John Boy from the Waltons. And so it's a fun movie, but it's so cheesy. But you can see the curtains in the backdrop of quite a few of the sets. But it's it's very interesting. Chad's just pointed out that only one person dies in First Blood, and as far as we know on screen, that's absolutely true. It's the corrupt policeman who's in the helicopter who's trying to kill him, and he throws the helmet and he falls out. That's the one guy who he gets the chef death.
He injures the crap out of people. As far as we know, there's only one death in First Blood.
And Brian Dennehy, what an actor as well, who would give him a shout. He passed away last year. So.
And that's the thing too. All of these really, not even like that. I'm not saying that Fred Ward, he's such a heavy hitter, but like all of these really great actors who we took for granted because there was so much there. Like they're passing away. Or like in Val Kilmer's case, he's now beat throat cancer. He's in remission for the second or third time.
That documentary about him is heartbreaking because you can really see his regret of all the. He talks about a lot of mistakes he's made, and he knows he doesn't have a lot of time to correct them, and that's why his performance and his scene in Maverick on the back of that documentary was so powerful because it was like he was, and the way that they incorporated him was beautiful. And do you know he had to beg to get in that movie?
I know. And then Tom Cruise was like, "We're not doing it without him."
Yeah,
so
good for Tom.
Yes.
I wish they'd had a couple of the other guys in there. I would have liked to have seen the movie start with the reunion of all the pilots from that unit. Yeah. And Val Kilmer was the one that wasn't there. And it's, that's when you hear he's ill. That would have been my opening scene, but I think it worked perfectly well as it was.
It did. Like I know a lot of people have issues with Tom Cruise, but the fact that he stood by Val Kilmer and was like, if he's not in it, this film's not getting made. And now this film, guys, I don't know if you saw, but Top Gun Maverick is on its way to $1 billion.
$1 billion,
$1 billion. And nobody thought that this movie was going to happen. Because, they're like, oh, it's a sequel to a movie that came out 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to want to see it. Like, it's like, you'll get the diehard fans for Top Gun that'll come and watch it, but it won't have any legs.
Do you know what? I knew it was going to do well.
I did too.
I had a gut feeling.
I thought maybe 750 million. But I wasn't expecting $1 billion. And then I saw it and it was so good. And I was like, this is amazing.
I went to a cast and crew screening of it in London. And I don't know if I should tell this story, but they give out free water bottles at these things. So you got like your free popcorn and you got your free water because it's a cast and crew screening. And I didn't work on the film or anything, but it was like an industry screening. So I think there was a load of the special effects department were there, and Tom Cruise wasn't there. There were like 4 of these. So so many people worked on the movie, and it was in IMAX. It's a really steep rake, so I had to dash out to go to the bathroom. And as I was coming back, because loads of people had dropped these water bottles on the floor and they were full, I stepped on one, and you know the rake of the seats in the IMAX is really steep.
Yeah.
I stepped on this bottle, and I went flying to my left. I thought, oh fuck, I'm going to go over, and I'm going to go into the road.
No. So
I reached out with my other hand, and I ended up grabbing this guy's junk. So I was fucking mortified. I've got his cock and balls in my hand. Fortunately, it was quite a meaty package, so I was able to stabilize myself. And it's the most fucking embarrassing thing that's happened to me in quite a long time. And that's a pretty big list of things to choose from. I've got quite a few stories like that, but not that all involve grabbing someone's genitals, I hasten to add. But I got and I'd made friends with the people sitting next to me. I went with my casting director. She got the tickets. And they were all film students that were sitting next to me. It's so great that they got invited. And I said, I'm so sorry, I just grabbed your friend's bits. But normally I'd offer to take him out for a dinner first. But he did stop me from falling over the balcony. So
the balcony.
Anyway, back to Uncommon Valor.
That's amazing. No, that's amazing. I love that story.
I think that might increase your views for this stream. People will tune in to hear that.
Oh my word!
I've got tears in my eyes. It was mortifyingly embarrassing. It was Clay Jarnack saying, "What did I just walk into?" But you know, listen, dude, I wasn't looking that way. I was just trying not to fall over. Chad, who's about to go on your stream, by the way, mentioned Horner's scores for Wrath of Khan and Krull.
Yes.
Both excellent scores, both of which I also have on vinyl. So I've got 10. I'm gonna have to like
Horners. Raid your house. Like if stuff goes missing one day, don't worry about it. I have it. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But it's oh man, like the thing is that people don't seem to kind of realize is a score can make or break a film.
There's a really good thing you can watch where you can see the ending of E.T. with no music and then with John Williams' scoring. And I mean, it's like, imagine that scene at the end with no music in it. It's just a completely different movie. You're absolutely right. And I had it on when I was waiting to come on. And I thought, I'll get in the mood for this stream. I'm going to put the score on. The scene when the helicopters come over the hill, this is the rescue thing, and you're not quite sure if they're going to arrive, but they come in. It's da-da-da. Oh man, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Such a brilliant piece. We're sure we can get probably a photo of that. You know what, we're there. See that just below that, you've got the picture of Gene Hackman with the Korean actor in the middle there with the trees. Let's talk about that guy. That guy is Kwon Hee Lim. And you said your father served in Korea, so I thought we ought to give him a shout out. Now, he was a Korean character actor, and he was best known as for his role as Lieutenant Tanaka in Magnum P.I. And he was in the remake as well. So he was a sort of regular. And I watched Magnum P.I. casually as a kid. I didn't recognize him, so he did a really good job of immersing himself in this role. And he's got his two daughters, and you see one of them's in the background there. Now those two girls, they're supposed to be like sisters. They look really similar. Yeah. One of them was actually a stunt woman, Debbie Parker. So she was actually an American girl, and I don't think she's done anything else. And the other one, I think was her name was Lu. And forgive me if I pronounce this wrong. Lu Nei Lai as Lee Fun. And they've got almost no dialogue in the film, the two of them, but they're both great. Really good, really good. It's not always about the dialogue, the acting.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna screw it up.
It's all right. Just tell me, and I'll jump on IMDb.
It's I don't think it's Trinity Is Still My Name. I'm assuming. Have you seen My Name Is Trinity, like the Trinity series, the trilogy? They Call Me Nobody. My Name Is Trinity, and Trinity's Still My Name.
Do you know what? I don't think I have. Is this
with Terrence Hill?
This is. Are you talking about 1970?
Yeah.
Italian spaghetti. Oh yeah, of course I have.
Okay. Oh my god.
Sorry. I was thinking of the character Trinity, who's in.
Oh no, Terrence Hill's not.
No, but I was thinking of
Yeah,
Trinity, the character, the woman, and
Matrix. Yeah, no.
and I was thinking she had her own trilogy movies. I don't think I've seen these.
No, wrong Trinity.
Yeah, no. I've seen these. Yeah,
but
not in a long time. But
like, you know, I think in that particular one, because like the opening scene for They Call Me Trinity, I think he's got like 3 words, and then he like doesn't talk forever. But the movies are fan-freaking-tastic.
And you know what? He's still alive.
Terrence Hill?
He's still alive. Born in 1939. He's still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Terrence Hill. You know, he is actually, I found this out, I think Steve's the one who told me this, but Terrence Hill has the most Westerns of any actor.
Well, he's an Italian actor. Mm-hmm. He was a film director and a screenwriter and a producer. So when you've got all 4 of those, Jibbo,
right?
you're good at them,
mm-hmm.
you can generate your work. I mean, he was born in Venice, Italy. But he's got an American profile, and I think a lot of people think he's American, but he's not.
I definitely thought he was American. I will never forget his opening scene where he ties the litter to the horse, and then the horse just kind of drags him into town while he's got his hat covering his head, and then he walks in and he's like, beans, and then the guy comes over to scoop it into the bowl, and he's like, leave it, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this. Yes, Bud Spencer. Yes, Raj.
And he was also in Django, right? As well.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's been in a ton of Westerns. But he's one of my favorite actors. I absolutely love the Trinity series. And he's it's very much in the vein of John Wayne, but like I guess Clint Eastwood and John Wayne and Terrence Hill are very much their own characters for sure. But Terrence Hill is very much in that same vein where he doesn't need a lot of dialogue.
No, because he had just a really good face.
Yeah.
That's why with Clint Eastwood in the spaghetti westerns, the early one, he's got almost no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big selling point with the Italians. It was like, well, he looks great. He can't speak Italian. That's fine. Let's get him in the film. And that whole storyline is kind of captured in Quentin Tarantino's film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That whole backstory with DiCaprio going to Italy to then have a little career in making westerns. That's all. That's a nod to Terrence Hill. That's a nod to Henry Fonda when he went over there and did a couple of things. And
I think because even maybe
Henry Fonda was in My Name Is Nobody. He was in the third
My Name Is Nobody. I'm trying to think. Wasn't
Once Upon a Time in the West he was in as well, I think.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, great.
I freaking love westerns. I love westerns.
Much. I was struggling for ages to get someone on my channel to come and do a top 10 westerns.
Oh God!
My buddy stepped in, but his mic was broken, so we kind of had to. We had this real weird setup, and the audio was painful. But listen, you want to talk about westerns another time, and I know everything there is to know about Silverado. That's one of my favorite westerns of all time. But listen, I got to go and visit the set. That's a bucket list thing. I have to go and visit the set of Silverado, even if we have to break over the fence. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll get a trespassing. We'll get a trespassing charge. It'll be worth it.
That'll be a fun live stream, won't it? There you go.
Yeah, be like, okay, we're running through the right now. We're on the set, and now we're gone. We got to go. Bye. They're chasing us.
Quick, get on those hover speeders from Kenobi.
There you go. Yeah, no, I just because even I think the thing I love about westerns, especially early westerns, and spaghetti westerns, was like, because I think even Reagan went over and did some got some chops over in Italy, if I remember right. Like a lot of these guys, they just macho is still like it's called machismo down in like Latin American countries and stuff like that, but this silent, strong archetype is something that works really, really well in westerns. And
yeah, I'd agree. I think if I was ever going to make one, and I would love to, I'd really want to have that kind of character in it somewhere. Maybe they wouldn't need to be the lead, but they'd have to be in it.
Because like that's the right there is what you need is a master in subtlety. And I think like especially with even in this in Uncommon Valor, you know, like there were a lot of times in this movie where they could have gone like, oh my god, this scene. No, of course.
Oh,
okay.
Connection is not private. You're being
right?
attacked by a virus. Yeah, that I know
But
exactly.
This
That's a bit of a spoiler there. That scene.
A little bit of a spoiler, but we won't tell you why.
Gene
But
Hackman is reunited with someone in that scene, but we're not going to say who.
Yes, we won't say who.
Yeah, because the ending to the film it's a good ending. It's a good ending.
They could have gone. It is. They could have gone so many ways with this, and they could have made it so over the top. But like the way that they were reserved, and you know, these men, quite frankly, this is the first time you see any kind of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like real true vulnerable. Like there are moments where you recognize it, but it's gone just as fast because if you stay in this mindset, in this type of state, you're gonna die next. Like you're not allowed when all of this stuff is happening, guys, you're not allowed to go into shock. You're not allowed to grieve. You're not allowed to do any of it. You have to.
Harold Sylvester's on the radio at this point going, emergency, emergency, American MIA's on board, American MIA's on board. And yeah, it's like that scene at the end of Rambo where he's actually coming back with them in the Huey. Rambo, by the way, the Rambo movie nicked loads of stuff from this film.
Yeah.
They just, you know, for those people that don't know that, I mean, George P. Cosmatos was a bit of a hack of a director, and Kurt Russell directed most of Tombstone, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know that story. But George P., who directed Rambo, he clearly sat down and watched this movie.
Absolutely.
And said, okay, we're going to make this, but, you know, except Stallone's going to be a one-man fighting army and take all these people out on his own. So the realism obviously goes out the window. You don't expect realism when you watch a Rambo film, except for the first one. But yeah, the ending's a gut punch. What do you think about the last shot of the movie? Do you remember the very last shot?
Yes. Yep.
Before the song comes on?
I think.
What does that say to you? I think it's, you know, it's that bond, isn't it? There's the bond. The bond is back, sort of.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like you're never really going to leave this. Like this place will always be a part of you, but you've overcome it, and now you're able to take those pieces that you thought were broken, and you can move on with those people. Like, you know, I'm trying not to ruin the last scene.
Raj is saying, wasn't it him kissing his wife? I mean, that's kind of it, but not it exactly. There's if the screen freezes, and the sound continues, but the image is frozen, which was quite interesting choice. And you need to look at the expression on both of their faces. That tells you where those characters are now at.
Yeah.
And that's their arc in the film. It's very simple, but it's very clever. And then, of course, we go into that fantastic song that I can't believe hasn't been used in more movies. It was used in one of mine. Well, it's not really a movie, but a web stream that I did recently. I sent you the link for that if you had a little look at it. And we did a little web series about the shootings in Kent State, and it's on our end credits. And I love that song. I think the Ray Kennedy, Brothers in the Night, is that right?
I
think it's Ray Kennedy, Brothers in the Night. Such a it's really good because the lyrics are all about the Vietnam War. Basically, it was written for anyone who doesn't know. By the way, it was written especially for the movie. So I don't know. You might be able to play a bit of it. I'm not sure. You might get flagged.
Yeah, I probably will get flagged.
You can maybe edit it out, but then doesn't that kill your views? You don't.
Raymond Lewis Kennedy
Yeah, Ray
Brothers in
Kennedy.
the Night. Yeah, Brothers in the Night.
And lots of people have used it on their sort of videos and things. So there's quite a few little videos of it on YouTube, including mine, on our channel somewhere. But I really love it. And we didn't get flagged up for copyright for it, funny enough.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't hunt you down now.
Well, my channel's not monetized yet, so
there you go.
They haven't really got. I think we're
anything.
We're now at 707 subscribers, creeping up. But,
nice. Go sub to Outcast Creative Guy. He's amazing.
Oh, bless you.
Honestly, like
the Outcast Creative is not just me. There are others, but yeah,
well,
I'm the one who
creatives. But
I'm the one who runs the YouTube channel, and it's a big group of actors from. We got members all over the world, so we got people in LA, Hawaii, New York, Canada, Chicago, and a few dotted around Europe, and 3 members in Australia.
Whoa!
And actors, directors, writers, who when we really came together was in lockdown. That's when we really
That seems to be when a lot of people came together.
Yeah, it was just an acting group before then, and we used to meet once a week in London. We'd meet face to face, and there's the two of us who founded the Outcast. We're both drama coaches, but I'm a writer director, and he's more of a teacher full time. So we come from slightly different backgrounds, but makes for a really good pairing.
That's amazing.
So that's how that all started. But so there's a lot of stuff about the industry on the channel. We've got interviews with actors, directors, and filmmakers, and I try to support a lot of really small indie people. So if there's an indie person watching who's creative, feel free to get in touch with us via the Facebook page, same name.
There you go.
And if you're trying to make something or create something, if we can help, we will.
Yay! Yeah, definitely, guys. Go check them out. You're all good people from the sounds of it.
I like to think so, and I love supporting other people's channels. And like I said to you before, you're welcome to come on ours anytime. In fact, I think this pairing works really well. So we could talk about old films and new films and whatever.
Well, and I think honestly, guys, too, don't ever get turned off when something gets called an old film. Old does not mean bad or tired or outdated.
No.
I can see Clay, you're in the chat. You're asking about Westerns that you wanted to try your hand based on the Old West tropes you usually do. So Lance can probably back me up on this, but honestly, it depends. Are you going for like a cops and robbers feel, or are you going for a cowboys and like territory? Like, again, is it cowboys defending their land? Is it cowboys trying to settle the Old West? Is it train robbers? Because like you have to determine first what type of Western you want to make, because you've got so many. Because like oh gosh, what is it's actually like a comedy Western, but I can't.
Blazing Saddles.
Well, yeah, Blazing Saddles. So you have
Blazing Saddles or Cactus Jack would be your two go-to comedy weapons. The latter of which almost no one has seen, but Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it.
Yep, he is.
That was a double bill with Spider-Man in the UK. The original Spider-Man with Hammond from The Sound of Music. No CGI in that film, let me tell you.
Definitely not. But yeah, so with Westerns, you have to figure out where you're going. Do you want like the white and so like this is an honest to God trope where you have the white cowboy and the black cowboy, like the outlaw versus basically the white knight. Like that, the white cowboy was the white knight on a horse, sort of stand-in. And it was supposed to kind of be based on like chivalry and knighthood and stuff like that. But rather than having your knight in shining armor, you had your cowboy, and then you had your outlaw, and it was the two of them against each other. And then you had like you had, oh gosh, there's so many. You have bank heists, you have train robberies, you have so a really good one, especially the original Zorro is really good, but a lot of people have seen the one with Antonio Banderas as Zorro.
But I remember watching the old ones. They used to sort of show them on telly, and I've got a Western question that I want to ask you, but I want to
Ooh.
also chip in on Clay's comments so we don't get too sidetracked. But remind me about this Western thing I want to ask you. My advice to Clay, because my main job is that I'm a writer, and to give you an idea, I wrote 30 scripts in lockdown, and most of them are on the back of that hoodie there because the Outcasts, we all came online and we all read scripts.
Amazing.
And you can see us doing live performances of some of those scripts on the channel. That's how the channel started. Now it's become something else. It's become like a reviews and industry advice channel. Amazing. So it's growing all the time. But I can write scripts incredibly fast. And if I get an idea and the idea is good, I'll go off like a rocket. I mean, I've written a 120-page. I know this is going to be hard for people to believe who are listening, but I've written a 120-page script before to order in 3 days.
No.
Yeah, I drank about 12 Red Bulls.
I believe.
And I literally didn't stop typing unless it was to go to the bathroom or eat a sandwich or something. But the idea was, and there was 10 grand at stake. So, there was a good reason. Because this girl called me and was like, I need a Bollywood comedy. And I'm what Bollywood comedies have you got? I've got a rom-com set in Italy. I don't have a Bollywood comedy. What do you need? Oh, I don't know. Something about a girl who inherits her father's business or something. So I said, give me half an hour. And I came back with 2 treatments in an hour.
Wow.
2 totally different movies. And she liked one of them over the other one. And I said, when do you need this? And this was Friday night. She said, Tuesday. And I said, well, I'm out all day tomorrow, but I'll start work on Sunday. And by Tuesday night, she had the second draft of a 96-page script. So, listen, I can't write that fast all the time. But the reason I'm telling this story is I had a really good idea from the get-go for the story arc and the character. It just came to me. And my key message to Clay is focus on telling the story. I would not get bogged down in the minutiae of what kind of Western do I want this to be, because then you're kind of setting yourself up already with some barriers that maybe you shouldn't have. Whose story is it first? So who is your guy or girl, or all the genders in between, as we can get into? But who is your character, right? Who is your character? Where are they going? What are they doing? What's their objective? How are they going to get there? And you're going to make it as impossible for them to get there as you can. So any story is a series of events that happens between A and B, here and here, and all the scenes are the bits that come in between. I teach screenwriting, by the way. So if anybody ever wants one-to-one screenwriting, contact me. But you need to tell the story. Story is king, right? Story is king, and brevity is key. So 2 of the worst lines of dialogue I've ever heard recently. We were in an episode of Kenobi, no surprise, and an actor who I really like. It's the son of the rapper. I really like him. I rate him. I think he's a great actor. And he played his father in the biopic movie of NWA. He's in the Star Wars thing, and he's got a line, and somebody says, listen, you take care of yourself. You be really safe. And his response was, yeah, and you be really safe too. Not, yeah, you too. If you can say it in 2 words, then in 5 or in 10, you should. And always strip dialogue back. Every writer will always overwrite their scene. Your first draft of your first script will be like 200-300 pages probably. And that's okay, because getting to the ending is the hardest part. Don't worry about if it's any good or not, because the first draft is just for you. It's not for anybody else.
Yeah.
So, and then you start stripping it back, and then you start saying, okay, maybe this scene doesn't need to be here. And I'll tell you another quick thing, Clay, as well, right? This will really help you, because he's saying, I'm not even an amateur writer. I'm trying to learn a new skill. So the first thing I teach on any writing class is the most important thing when you're writing a scene is the 4 W's, right? So the 4 W's are, where does the scene take place? Who's in the scene? What happens in the scene? And why does it happen? Okay. And if you can't answer those 4 things for any scene in your movie, your TV show, even your book, then why is that scene in the story? You should be able to always answer those 4 W's. And what I used to do back in the day, I think I've got some knocking around, is I'd get these cards. Oh, they're out of reach, but I've got a whole load on a board just over there. I get these small cards and I pin them up on a board, and I put a title like, you know, Joe meets Jane or whatever. And in the street, that takes place in the street. Jane tells Joe, you know, Fred's having an affair with whoever. Why does this happen? You know, and I'd write all these little notes, and that's one card, and then I'd do another one, and I'd do another card, and you start doing that. You do that for a couple of hours if you've got a strong story. Before you even get on the computer, all the hard work happens before you get on the keyboard. Yeah. And then you end up with 50, 60 of those. And then you put them in order, and then you write them out like a story, which is a treatment or a synopsis. That'll end up being 10, 15, 20 pages. And each time you're redeveloping the story, and if you do all of that before you even get on the keyboard, when you hit the keyboard, most of the hard work's done already. So that's what I teach people in my class. I teach them a method of how to do all the work before they even get on the computer, so that when they get on the computer, they will write the script as fast as they can type it.
Yeah, because I always hear, like, one of the things that I've often heard is I'll have a really good idea, but then I'll sit down at the computer and I'll have no idea where to start. So it just never gets done.
That happens. I'll tell you exactly how to beat that. How you beat that problem is everybody always starts on page 1. Don't do that. There will always be one scene in your head that's really clear. It might be the ending of your movie. It might be the action scene. It might be the scene where so-and-so betrays so-and-so, you know, Fred betrays Julian or whatever. So whatever that scene is, write that first. Don't worry about where it fits in the rest of the story. Write that first. Then write the next clearest one and do that. And then the next. Yeah, and if you try and write in order, that is always guaranteed to make you go back onto the Xbox. Okay.
That's fair. Yeah, because if you write the parts that are really speaking to you of the story, then it's easy to build around those parts, I guess, because like you're building out from what you know and what you love and what's stuck with you. But if you're literally trying to make it like, I will start on page 1 and I will write until page 37 today, like, you know, and you make it utilitarian like that, then I would assume your story is going to reflect that, as like it's going to feel like a utilitarian story being told.
I mean, bringing it back to Uncommon Valor, because I know we've gone off topic a little bit, and I'm pleased that, you know, the people watching are still with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
And hopefully it's not boring. And thank you, and subscribe, donate to Lady, you know, G, and all the rest of it. The one of the things that's really interesting about looking at Uncommon Valor, this script and another script, completely different film, We Are Marshall, with Matthew McConaughey, sports triumph over tragedy film. That script and this script are 2 really good examples of a very straightforward story told in a pretty old school style that really work, and they have fairly by the numbers story beats, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you look at Uncommon Valor, you start off with a flashback that sets up the story, or what we call the setup. We then get thrown into our main character's life. We know he's lost his son. There's some scenes where he's dreaming about remember the scene with the boy standing in the room. He sees his son as a kid. That's a really nice moment. You've got a little scene with the wife, and then we're straight into then a rush montage about, right, I'm doing all these different things and trying to reach out to all these different people to try and find my son. And there was this whole rip-off market that developed after the Vietnam War about people, you know, trying to find out about missing fathers and sons. And there was a bit of a racket going where there was a lot of imposters, and there was a lot of people saying they had information, send me $10,000, and then they would fuck off with the money. And, you know, they didn't have any information. So you get a bit of that. And that was a real thing that happened. That happened a lot. So that's a little montage scene. That's kind of, that's kind of like the first third of the first act. And then we get into, okay, I've got to put the team together. So you have a scene with each member of the of your 7 guys. I think 6 with 6 plus Hackman.
I think,
and each scene tells you something about that character. So you learn what their job is. You learn how they relate to Gene Hackman's character. You learn where they're at now. and in most cases why they don't want to say yes, and then later why they say yes, and then and that naturally then leads to the scene where they all meet each other again for the first time, and that's quite an uplifting, funny scene. You remember the scene, and then you've got the training, and they're doing the training montage.
Yeah,
and then we have the outsider with Patrick Swayze. Is now the outsider. He comes in.
He shows up, and then guys, here's the other thing too that we don't like. How can I? It's not hazing. It's not,
no.
It's not hazing, but it's just you have to.
We're not talking A Few Good Men here.
Yeah, like when you come to a unit that's tight knit, you have to prove why you want to. Like that's why the fight breaks out. They're trying to figure out. They're trying to get to the core of why you want to be there and should they let you in to this tight-knit group. Because if at the core it's I just want to kill bodies, or I just want to I want to be a hero, or I want something that my grandfather told me that always stuck with me is if your goal in being in the military is to earn the Medal of Honor, then you're that is so dire and is so perilous and will probably lead to someone's death, if not your own, just so you can get a medal out of it. That is the wrong reason to be in a war. If you're medal hunting, you are not somebody that everybody else can count on. If you are going because you genuinely believe in, fighting for freedom, for doing the right thing, for if you're American, liberating different countries or different peoples or something, if you're going for the right reasons, are politicians going for the right reasons? 99% of the time, no. And a war was black and white, cut and dry. It's sadly not.
You only need to look at Ukraine to
I think
see that.
There's been so many conflicts in the past even decade where Ukraine, Yemen, Taiwan.
I know, and you'd think as a race we'd be past all this shit now, wouldn't you?
We just
you'd think we'd be heading more to kind of a different level of growth as a society, but it ain't happening.
That's part of the problem with this global nihilism that feminism and SJWism and everything has pushed is if you're nihilistic that way, then you're never going to work. The great thing about Star Trek is as humanity, we were okay, we're going to work together to explore space. We're going to work together to, go out and see what we can find. But unfortunately, and I think that I'm not a huge, I think Elon Musk is in danger of being used by the wrong people because he's a really big dreamer. He's hey, we can put these chips in people's brains that will help stroke victims and that will help, we can put it in the spines of paralyzed victims or paraplegic victims, and it can help them walk and talk and lead a more normal life. And that all sounds, and he's so focused on all the good stuff, but the problem with that is that crap is going to get hijacked by people with ill intentions for sure.
Yep.
But we need dreamers like Elon Musk who wants to go colonize Mars, who wants to, commercial rockets and flights through space and stuff like that. We need those kinds of dreams because we used to be able, you can even see it in our films. We used to dream about going to the stars. We used to dream about the depths of the oceans. We used to dream about a world where it wasn't necessary. It's not like you had no conflict. You still had to survive. You had to provide. You had to be productive. You had to do all of these things as a human being and stuff like that. But it was to your own individual betterment, which in turn led to a better society. And it was very hopeful and optimistic. And we have just, I think probably around, I want to say between 2010 and 2013, everything just sort of like massively shifted, and we started getting very nihilistic in our music, our film, our television, our books. It all went very dark and nihilistic in a way that
yeah, you're bang on, because that's the year that I wrote my first novel, and the first line of it is the human race is taking a gigantic step backwards, something like that.
there you go.
It's on the shelf behind me. Talking of Star Trek, by the way, just thought I'd grab this on my phone. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's in the other room. So those are all my Star Trek ships.
Give Gary a run for his money. My God, that's amazing.
When you say Gary, do you mean Nerdrotic Gary?
Yeah.
Oh, has he got a lot of these? Okay.
He is a huge. He likes the P.O.s, TNG, stuff
guys,
like that.
These don't just sit on the shelf. So these are for gaming. So I've actually made a Star Trek game of my own, and yeah, we use it for gaming on a big table, and people control ships, and you have coins to move around your board, so you can power shields or power phasers, or so that's a lot of fun.
Okay, so I'm going to be coming to the UK, and we're going to play that game. I don't know when.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I'm coming to the States
there
soon,
you go.
and I'm thinking about bringing it with me. So because I'm going to a games convention in Phoenix.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to run it. I think I'm going to run it there, but I'm also going to be in Dallas because I'm staying with Mark Simonich, who designed. I don't know if you can see these, but these are board games. And there's a whole load of historical ones there. Oh, by the way, there's a Lego Death Star here. Just ignore that. And there's a whole load of there's a load with a logo on called GMT. This red logo on the side here.
Yeah.
And my friend Mark Simonich owns that company. He's a massive history buff, World War II buff like me. Awesome. And he exactly Raj Williams. It's very similar to Starfleet Battles, but a much simpler game to play. He designed about 6 of those games, and I met him. We became friends through this convention, and I'm coming over to stay with him for a week or 2.
That's amazing.
I'm going to a friend's wedding, and I thought, listen, if I've got to fork out money for a flight, I haven't been on holiday for forever.
There you go.
And Cal's just said, I've got a new subscriber. I've actually noticed, by the way, since we started this stream, that I've got 3 new subscribers. So they've all come from you guys. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get to 1,000. I'm trying to get to 1,000 as soon as I can. That's so kind.
Yeah. Sub to Outcast Creatives. They've got some. I mean, I'm snooping on your YouTube page.
I'm always happy to come on people's streams and talk bollocks. So I've got about 10 YouTubers that I follow pretty avidly. You probably guess I'm a big fan of Jay's, and it's probably also worth mentioning that our theatre company is also doing a play about. It's a fictional play. It's not based on anything true. It's about the firing of actress Nina Serrano from this television franchise called Galaxy Wars. It's completely fictional, and it's called The Tweet. It's definitely not based on anything that happened in real life. And we're going to perform that live online at some point. I'm still writing the script at the moment, so you'll get to see that on our channel, The Tweet, in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay. I want to make sure. And I want to make sure that I am, because I see, hold on.
And apparently you're 6'7" tall, according to Awesome One in the chat. That's good.
Apparently. So
I should be able to spot you from like a state away.
Yeah. Gary gave me a few more inches than I actually am, but I was actually not expecting, I wasn't expecting, I don't want to say the guys are short, but I will say
Jay's really tall though.
Jay's pretty tall, but I thought Jeremy was shorter than Ryan, and it turns out that Ryan is shorter. It's like, so Ryan and Gary are pretty much the same height, and then Jeremy's a little bit taller than them, and then Jay is the tallest of them. But my husband's taller than all of them, so like it was fine. But then like it's funny because we take the picture and the way that the guys are leaning, it looks like Quarter Black, and so Quarter Black and comics are like the same height.
Quarterback Garrett. That's Garrett, right?
Yeah, Garrett.
I really like him. I think he's really cool.
He's awesome, and he he's he is, because he looks so big. The way that he has his webcam set up, he looks like he'd be like a 6'9" giant. But then like you meet him and he's this like cute little teddy bear who you want to just hug.
Well,
And
that has its
yeah,
benefits as well. So you know.
but it's great stuff. But yeah, I think we're. I think I was as tall as Gary and Ryan, or like just an inch shorter than them maybe. But yeah, like I felt like when I would stand next to like Quarter Black or comics, I would just kind of like lean, because I was like, I'm down here with you guys, what's going on? But they're so sweet, and they're big guys, like they're big guys, they're big dudes. But yeah,
we had this conversation about what Mauler looks like, and for some reason loads of people in the Outcasts all think every time they see a stream, because he was a guest on our stream, and everybody was like, why aren't we seeing this guy? And I said, I'll explain it later, he doesn't like going on camera. and they said they all pictured Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. So everybody thinks that Mauler's got bright red ginger hair and
you know
looks
what?
like Ron Weasley, but
why not?
Who can say if that's true?
Well, I picture Mauler to be like kind of Thin Man. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of his avatar, but like I just imagine this giant wispy dude who is like very unassuming, but then if you like go up and try to speak to him, he's
got a razor sharp sense of humor.
I mean, God,
he's got the I couldn't believe he's in his 20s, but he's got the mind of like someone my age when it comes to, you know, he knows the difference between good and bad storytelling, and
absolutely
he's got a dry, sarcastic wit. Our tastes are not exactly the same. My taste with Will Drinker are completely aligned, like 2000%. We like all the same stuff, and for the same reasons, and that's because we're both writers. And we kind of approach creative material like, you know, it comes back to what I was saying to Clay earlier. Always tell the story. It's all about telling the story. Fuck knows what the Kenobi writing room was about. I mean, Jesus, what were these people on?
I don't think writing rooms are really a thing anymore, honestly. It's
like with the last Star Wars trilogy, right? I couldn't believe that there wasn't like a sit down meeting of these are the three films. This is the overall arc. So you can do your thing, but this is the arc. These are the key scenes. This scene's got to be in this, and then you write that with those caveats in mind. Do that. Oh no, there was none of that. It was just like, Rian Johnson, off you go, do whatever.
Yeah, really? And when they're like, we were always asking ourselves like, what would George do? Not this, for one, and two, why didn't you just call him?
For all the faults with the prequels, and I have a lot of issues with them. To say the least, and I'm pretty much in agreement with a lot of red letter media's stuff where they're concerned, but they did have a conversant, connected story that made sense. In the grand scheme of things, there were a lot of things that didn't make sense in the films, in particular, like why on earth they put Jar Jar in it at all. But just. They tried. There was a connected story there. There was one man at the helm, for better or worse.
I think someone should have. There should have been a no.
We're getting off topic now.
It's okay. But I mean, I think that what George Lucas really could have used on the prequels was a no man. Be like, George, we can't do that. Like, because he did. But like, I mean, he finally had the budget. That's why we got. Because quite frankly, the world building, this is one of the reasons that episode 1 is one of my favorites, because the world building is so exceptional. Like we get Naboo, which not only do you get, the similar to Earth with it being having like a land and a sea and stuff like that, and you get the castle and like that landscape and those people, but then you get like the underwater city as well. Like you get the Gungan city, and so like you basically have 2 different worlds on this one planet that are coexisting basically.
Yeah, no, I kind of liked all that, although I don't know if you ever saw the Phantom edit, but somebody did this edit of the first movie, and it's like way better. Most of the Gungan stuff is cut out.
Yeah.
And all of Jake Lloyd's dialogue, apart from 2 lines, is like he's like a silent, moody kid, which worked really well. So yeah, I mean, look, we can do another stream about.
Yeah,
Star Wars,
I'm a huge prequel fan though, so it's like
no, I know that. I've watched enough of your
OG
streams
trilogy.
to know.
Yeah, I love my OG trilogy so much, but I am a prequel stan. Attack of the Clones.
See, I'm a massive fan of Rogue One. I thought it was really good, and a lot of people don't like it, and that's okay. We all like different things. That especially a lot of us are of different generations. I'm of the generation we queued up to go and see Star Wars in '77.
Yeah,
and we all got to go and see it 5-6 times that summer because every kid said, "I'm going to see Star Wars for my birthday."
Yep.
And if you were a kid with a lot of friends, you got to go and see Star Wars a lot of times. Which
you had to go see it with your friends.
I got to go and see it like 9 times in about 6 weeks. I went about 9 times. It was great.
That's awesome.
But,
so if you had to give, so we'll get back on.
Yeah, let's get back to Uncommon Valor. Sorry for those people watching, but you're still all with us. Like, the numbers are consistent.
Yeah,
we were at 20 at one point, but
but that's not, especially since the stream went a little bit longer. I usually peak between 20 and 30. But and this one's going almost twice as long as I normally go because I try to keep between an hour and 15.
Yeah,
but,
I try and do mine 90 minutes tops, but we've gone
over.
No,
it's fine.
We're just having a laugh.
Yeah, and anybody that's watched my stuff knows I go off on tangents, so it's totally fine. But with Uncommon Valor, I think if I had to give it like an overall rating, I'd probably give it like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10.
I just rated it on IMDb, funny enough, because I had the IMDb page open so I could check any little details, and so it did that thing where it flashes up. What do you want to rate Uncommon Valor as? And I thought, I'm going to give it an 8. I gave it 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. It hasn't got. I'm trying to think of another film that's in a similar vein.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard.
That somehow scores a bit higher, and this is the only serious Vietnam rescue mission movie there is. There are plenty of knockoffs, and there's the Mission in Actions, and okay, you've got Back 21, which is but that's one that's set during the war.
Yep.
This is the only one that's set after the war that's, as from what I remember, is very serious in tone. It tries to be real. This is what it would have been like. And there were, by the way, I can tell you this now, there are stories like this going on right now in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
Where people are going back because that was such a clusterfuck. Oh, my God. And there's going to be dozens of movies about the fall of Afghanistan and dramas and TV dramas coming out. And I'm sure some of them will be really good. But there's a lot of people, British ex-servicemen and things like that, that are going back to try and get people out, or they're going in incognito to try and ensure certain things don't happen. And women,
they don't want a repeat of. Have you ever seen 13 Hours about what happened?
I have. That was. Do you know what? That was a Michael Bay film, and I was surprised because he really held back and he made a gritty, realistic depiction. I saw that at the cinema, and I'm so glad I saw it on the big screen. It was. I've got the Blu-ray in the other room. Great movie. Yeah,
that's literally what these, like, you've got so many, especially SF guys, came back. They got out, and now they're basically doing what this movie is doing. They're linking up with old buddies. They're getting funding, and they're going back as private citizens to get people out because they don't. I mean, the amount of I try really hard not to get like political on this or whatever.
But are you talking about, because if you're talking about people going back to Vietnam, if you watch the new documentary series, the one that's just been on, watch the last episode of that, because that now it's so heartwarming. There's all these different organizations of American ex-servicemen and Vietnamese, ex-Viet Cong, ex-NVA, all working together to do all these projects, these rebuilding projects, these projects for kids. And it's like when you see the old veteran back in the day, when you saw the German veterans and the Allies, the British and the Americans, the hate's all gone now.
Yeah.
That they have for each other. It's heartwarming to see that, and they're doing these great projects, all these charity projects. That was, for me, that was great to see that's, if at least something positive has come out of it all.
I think because and what these men went through hell together, even if they were on two different sides of it. Like it's there, that's just the way that it is. And I think, like, when it comes to what's going on in Afghanistan specifically, the way that we pulled out was, quite frankly, worse than Vietnam. It was,
and the British British and Americans jointly have got to put their hands up, and we handled that appallingly. And by the way, it was not the fault of the military.
No, it's not,
because the military were really angry. I don't know about the American side, but friends serving out there, and the way the collapse happened, and it all happened so quickly, and there were so many people that didn't get out that should have done. And that, and then also you need to think about the vetting process in terms of terrorists that have deliberately been inserted. I'm sure there's loads.
And when people are like, well, why didn't they just drive to the airport? And it's like, I don't think you realize how dangerous that 2-mile drive actually was for them. Like,
and also the chances of getting into the airport were extremely remote and
so low. And there were people, like, there's a video. It's literally a translator. It's a translator's wife.
Yeah, there's a lot of translators that got left behind and
razor wire into the airport because they knew that someone was coming to get them because of what her husband did. The amount of people, like, when we say there's Americans and British and German, like, there's a lot of people left back there who are like, they're there for contract reasons or whatever the case may be. They weren't able to get out. Yes, they're citizens from other countries there, but also what people seem to forget is there were a lot of Afghanis who, the Taliban specifically, but I mean ISIS, like, they view them as traitors, and they're coming to kill them and their families, and all those people got left behind. Like, the people who helped Americans survive and crush ISIS and the Taliban once and twice and third times, and, kept Americans, like, specifically for me, there's a few instances that I know of where if it hadn't been for the translators, if it hadn't been for the Afghani citizens who chose to help the Americans by hiding them or by letting them know that there was a attack coming or telling them that there was a daisy chain bomb on their patrol, that our casualties would have been much, much higher, and it would have been much more devastating for us.
There's so many stories like that.
And now all those people are left at the mercy of these terrorists. And that's terrible. That's absolutely unforgivable. Like, the fact that you're just going to abandon those people for what? For nothing. Like, it's just
no.
It's but
and our foreign minister was on holiday when that all happened. The guy that was in charge of it on the politics at our end, and don't get me started on my government, because that's a rabbit hole we don't want to go into.
Yeah, we won't get into that.
Let's do final thoughts on the movie. Was there, we talked about before we started, right? We were trying to think. I know the film's got some pacing issues in a couple of places.
Yeah, but
was there anything in particular you didn't like about it? Was there anything you would have seen different? I mean, I liked all the cast. There wasn't an actor in it really that I could say,
Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't think
think
he
that.
was very good.
Yeah, I don't think that they really could have replaced anybody in the cast.
I think Harold Sylvester probably got, in terms of screen time of the 7, he probably got the least time
Yeah.
out of them. Maybe Reb Brown after him. But they all made their mark. I mean, I remember all the characters. That was a movie quiz question of mine. Which film would you find the characters of Sailor, Rhodes, Charts, etc., etc., etc.?
Yeah.
Which movies that? And somebody, one of the, it was at the games convention in Arizona. Somebody, what is Uncommon Valor? He was on it like 2 seconds.
Yes. No, I love when I love when films like this, because like films like this, the thing that modern cinema, in my personal opinion, is missing, modern film, modern storytelling, if you want to call it storytelling, there's no, even this film, with as dark as it got, like I said, it's not a dark film in the sense that most people think, but even with as gritty and as dark as this film got, there was still this sense of hope and determination, and especially at the end where you start to see like this healing process start to happen almost.
I think that is the message at the end of the
Yeah.
film. Is
and that's something that's drastically missing in today. Like, it's almost like these showrunners or these film screenwriter, whatever you want to call them, they want you to leave as miserable and dejected as possible, is almost what it feels like. And that's
intentionally or otherwise, they've become very skilled at making
Yeah.
us all feel.
I think that's why, honestly, I think Top Gun Maverick will hit $1 billion, because you leave on that note of like inspiration and hope and, overcoming obstacles and just brotherhood and fraternity. Like all of these notions that have been missing for a decade at least. I mean, you've had very few exceptions, Top Gun Maverick being one of them, but within the last decade, for sure, there's been no hope, there's been no camaraderie, there's been no fraternity, there's been none of that, and all of a sudden you just get this bolt of lightning. It's like a breath of fresh air, after you've been breathing stagnant, acid rain, pollution filled city air, and all of a sudden you go to the mountains and it's just crisp and clean. And it really shows you that it's not impossible to make these movies anymore. It's just that they don't want to.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just so much. Listen, it's the same in the UK, and look, I'm a 50-year-old white guy. No one's going to hire me. The only way I'm going to get any projects done is if I do them off my own back, and because as far as people are concerned, I had my shot, but I'm not part of the class. We've got a kind of a class system in the creative industry over here, and I'm not part of it. Yeah. I'm an outsider, and that's where the name The Outcast comes from. Go. So all of the work I've ever done, I've never had any help. I've directed 15 plays in London. No one ever came up to me and said, here's the budget for your next play. I won a few awards and I got some prize money with some of those, but I never had that backer or that organization, like a studio or whatever. I've done some films, but I've never done a studio film. They've all been indies. So, if you're on that outside, everything is 10 times harder. Yeah. So I've always been on the outside. I've never been with the top tier agencies that churn out. They've all now got interior production arms. They all represent the top 100 actors. Most of them then will all be within that top 5. And it's a self-determination interest thing where the money goes out the front door and comes in the back door. Yep. And it's not in their interest to let other people up that ladder. And you get so far in the industry and you can't get any further unless a person puts their hand down and pulls you up onto the wall. And very few people are prepared to do that, but they'll do it occasionally for some people, or some people will just rage in the system anyway and find their own way. I mean, there's an actress who's now a writer director called Michaela Cole that we've got over here, who made the series called I May Destroy You. She's an amazing talent, and she got that show. She got the deal for that show. She did it herself.
Wow.
And her agent, which was one of the top tier agencies, expected to get their cut, and she turned around and said, "Fuck off! You didn't set this up for me. You didn't get me this job. Why should I give you 15% or whatever?" And she fired them.
Hey.
So I was like, "Good for you, girl." And she's doing really well, and she is her own person, you know. And there's not many people like that in the industry who will stand out. But I mean, look, she was the right person with the right image at the right time. So there were some balls in her court, but nevertheless, she still worked really hard. To get there. But yeah, we live in a very strange time, and it's even more difficult now to get certain types of project made unless you've got those buzzwords in your pitch pack and you're ticking those boxes that they want ticked. And I mean, the BBC is just the worst for it.
See, and that's the thing. That is when that's when you know that a system is about to die. It's become a self-consuming system.
Yeah.
Because you have self-sustaining systems, which are great, but they usually need to be refreshed every now and then. But then you have self-consuming systems, and the thing about them is they think that they are, self-sustaining, and then by the time they figure out that they aren't, it's too late, and they've basically, eaten themselves alive, basically. And it's I think Hollywood is dying a slow death because it refuses. Like, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I've said this many times. If Tug Life was in the chat right now, she loves to jump on this comment. I said it one time and she's like, no, but I have not been like a huge Henry Cavill stan. I don't, anytime someone brings him up, I'm like, you mean the kid from A Count of Monte Cristo? Like that Henry Cavill, who played Albert? And they're like, that's where you know him from? And I'm like, well, yeah, like that's like when you say that, that's where my head goes. But thanks to Tugs and my husband, who I think has a bro crush on Henry Cavill, if I'm being perfectly honest. But the thing is, like, when I went back and I looked at some of his stuff, if this was the 80s, Henry Cavill would be a massive star. Like, there's no question that he would have. I don't understand.
He is a massive star, isn't he? I mean, he is. You don't think so?
Not how.
I mean, okay.
How can I put this? So like, what I mean is,
he's a massive star in my book. I don't know.
Well, like, I guess the way that I will phrase this, he is one of the, like, the whole reason I guess the Superman thing isn't going forward is because he asked for more money, because they're trying to bank on his name. Like, the way I feel about this is Henry Cavill is the ultimate bait and switch, because studios know that people love him. So they use his name to sell their stuff, like that freaking Enola Holmes deal with Netflix. They made him seem like he was going to be in the film. I think he had a total screen time of like 5.5 minutes, but they sold it on his name, like that, like the big time on his name. And then he was barely in it. And then we had the Witcher series. Everybody's like, I'm not saying everybody, but a massive amount of people are showing up for Henry Cavill. And quite frankly, for being the main character, especially if they were following books, he should still be the main character for several seasons. And he's not. And he is not getting near the screen time that he should for a story that's, I don't know how else to put it, for like a story that's basically surrounding him. I don't know if Highlander is going to be the thing that switches it, but even the film, The Immortals that he was in, I believe he played. I
don't watch superhero films anymore.
Well, that one was Greek. Yeah, it was Greek.
I'm done with them, basically.
Yeah. So like, I can't. Everybody's like, oh, you need to watch The Tudors. He's in The Tudors, but like,
He's good in that. He's
yeah,
good in
that's
that.
and so I'm like, okay,
It's
I'll
a
give it
fun
a shot.
show.
But
Fun
like,
show.
The Immortals, he was the lead role. He barely had any dialogue. And like we said earlier, but the thing is, he didn't need it. Like, that's when I realized the man could act, was in The Immortals. Like, I didn't mind, like, because he was a teenager, he was a kid in Count of Monte Cristo, and he actually did really, really well, but he was like a kid. And then you get to the Immortals, where he's still pretty young, but I was like, holy crap, this guy can actually act. Like, he can emote. He can. It was basically like kind of a callback to Westerns. He didn't need a lot of dialogue to make it work. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I've got no issues with Cavill. I mean, I've got some funny stories I could tell you about him, but I'm going to save them for another time, including the time we nearly had him attached to a film I was going to direct.
Oh, there you go.
And that's a whole other story. But in terms of the stuff he's doing now, there's not anything he's doing right now that he's attached to do, or that I know he's got coming out, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'd like to see that. If he was going to produce a Space Marine movie, like based in the Warhammer universe,
yes,
that I would like to see if done right. I'd actually like to see less spiky bits on everything than there are actually on all the figures in the Warhammer. I'd be quite happy with less spikiness in that universe. Everything doesn't have to be quite so spiky, but because I used to play. I had the first figure that ever came out for Warhammer, which was a Space Marine medic. Probably might be one or two people that remember that figure with the Snootle mask, the old school. And and I had a unit of Ultra Space Marines with the white horseshoe thing. I had a unit of them all done up with. I had a unit with them all with World War II weapons. I had another one with an M60. I don't have them anymore, but I had Eldar. I had some Eldar and stuff. So I like that world. I like that universe. It's kind of cool, and I think that there could be a great, if done like sort of like a Babylon 5 style show. That's another of my favorite shows. I don't know if you saw, but the box sets were under my Star Trek spaceships in the other room. We could talk another hour about that. That's not.
We could. That's another. That's a 6-hour stream.
You and I have got about a 6-season worth of shows we're going to do already. We planned out tonight, man.
Yes.
And listen, I'm totally up for it because I'm a bit of a night owl, so don't worry about the time difference because I can do these things. Nice. So, I think myself, so my hours are my own.
I guess what I'm getting at is we don't have franchise like. When people are like, oh, the movie star is dead or dying, I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think they're being murdered. Like, because Tom Cruise, like, the reason that people are going to see Top Gun Maverick is, yes, because of Top Gun, but also it's Tom Cruise. Like, Tom Cruise is proof that you can still create a show or an IP around an actor and it can pay off. You can still have, like, that movie star magic.
His fingerprints are all over that.
Yeah,
that film, and listen, in the best possible way. We were so busy talking about my slipping incident that I didn't actually say what I thought of the film. I loved it, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And I saw it in the same cinema that I saw it in 86. I think it was 86. It came out.
That's awesome.
It was at the Empire Screen 1. It's now an IMAX, so it's obviously all the seats are different. But I was sitting pretty much the same row and pretty much what would have been the same seats. So when the dum 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 sort of start that comes up and and all that, my hairs kind of went up and I was like, oh my god, it's like. And at first, because it opens on almost exactly the same shot. So I was thinking, like, is this a double bill? Are we seeing the first one first? I'm fine with that if we are.
Yeah, I was like, I'd be fine with that too.
I was thinking, oh, maybe we would. And then the titles come out, and it's like, and it succeeded. It succeeded. The school succeeded. And I was okay. We're into the second movie.
Yes.
But it was great. It had just the right amount of like, here's some things to remind you why you liked the first film, and here's some less gay things to remind you. Why this one is less gay, and it hit all the right buttons for me. we've talked about it before. The action was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
There was some silliness in it, you know, the whole kind of we've got to get another plane, and that was all.
But I'm not gonna lie. Since I was air wing, getting to see. So there were some, yes, they had Super Hornets, but they were definitely doing some of those stunts in Legacy F-18s because they're not going to put Super Hornets through some of that rigmarole.
All of that stuff, I was fine with all of that.
And
I meant the fact that they had to swap planes, and you know,
yes.
I knew there was going to be. I was saying to my friend Sharon, Tom Cruise is going to run at some point. We know two things about this film.
Yes.
One is Cruise is going to ride on his bike, and the other is at some point he's going to run. As soon as he's running through the woods in the snow, we all just cracked up. It was so funny.
But it was so good, and I loved seeing that F-14. It made my day. I loved it. The whole movie.
Teller was great in it as well.
Yes, he was, and he looked. Oh God, that whole
perfect casting.
Yes,
tash, and he's got the tash and everything.
Yep, he looked like bang on, like he could have been his kid.
I loved that scene where he's on the piano, and you know, and you flash back and you showed the footage of Anthony Edwards, which I didn't think they would do, and I really liked that minute. And I'll tell you another thing I really liked about it that not that many people have mentioned. I like the tie-in with Penny Benjamin. She's mentioned in the first film. Someone's been seeing the Admiral's daughter, and I don't know if you knew that. So that's a line from the first movie where some of the others, Anthony Edwards jibes at him saying, "You've been out with the Admiral's daughter again, haven't you?" So she is an old flame of his, from before Kelly McGillis, and obviously Kelly McGillis's character went off and had her own gay adventure love story, and so he's now back with. So he's actually back with his ex. That's his plot.
Yeah.
I quite like that. I
do too.
That was really clever.
Yes, I loved the film. This film did something that no other modern film has been able to do, and that is to pay tribute to its roots and to where it came from, and the fans and the film and the story and the crew and the cast that made it what it is, and where and why this thing even has legs to begin with. And you know, that's something that I really, you know, it's not nostalgia bait. It's true nostalgia. It brings you back to a time where men were men, and there was, you know, like, I love that. When he said the line of when Rooster, you know, like, I'll put it in character, when Rooster looks at Maverick and is literally throwing his words back at him, I was like, oh my God, that's because Maverick's like, what were you thinking? And then Rooster's like, you told me not to think. And then he's
yeah.
Then he just kind of stops.
And
I was like,
you're dead.
And you think you're dead. And it's like, dude, like, honest to God, the callbacks and the writing and the fact that it was all just so tight and it worked so well together. It's truly an enjoyable experience and story and film, and it's believable, and you're cheering for these guys so hard because of what you know they're about to go through and what is going to happen. And I mean, there's a reason this movie is about to make $1 billion. When I think before it came out, did you see? So like the predictions for Memorial Day weekend were that it was going to maybe hoping to hit 50 million at the box office. Top Gun Maverick, to see if it has any legs for fans 35 years later, right? Like, that was the titles that you saw everywhere, and then it blew everybody out of the water.
I think also, do you know what? I think it helped that the pandemic delayed it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there was this big build of expectation. There were some other movies that were delayed by the pandemic, and they came out. One of which, I've got to tell you, I was massively disappointed with, was the Bond film.
Oh yeah.
And it just came out, and it was like, man, they killed him, really?
Yeah.
You know, it just, I don't know. I haven't really, the Craig era.
I've not been a fan.
Yeah,
I've been pretty
I
vocal about that.
liked the first one, and I'm probably because that's the last Bond film I saw when my parents were alive, and I took them to see it. So special memory. They were the ones that got me into Bond. But I've not really enjoyed them, and that one in particular, I just didn't really do anything for me. I was a bit like,
Casino Royale, I was really hesitant with. I was like, because like it really felt like a Jack Reacher or a Jason Bourne kind of feel to it rather than a James Bond. And I think that's probably because, I mean, Pierce Brosnan is 100% like my favorite Bond. Like, I know you've got Sean Connery, Sir Roger Moore, all of that. Like, Bond wouldn't be who he is without them, Timothy Dalton. But like Pierce Brosnan was just like, he was my quintessential Bond. He was just enough of a womanizing jerk. And like this suave, like it was just enough for him to be like this. You believed he was like a suave super spy. He didn't.
I think he's the best Bond overall in terms of acting ability. Fleming, the look,
yes,
faithfulness to the book. He's not my favorite's got to be Connery.
Everybody,
it's just because my age and that. And I like my favorite Bond film is The Spy Who Loved Me. By the way. And I saw that twice at the cinema this year already, and because it's the 50th anniversary, so there's some screenings, and there was another screening on Sunday. And if it wasn't for the fact that I had to do some rehearsals with the Outcasts, I would have been there. And it's literally 50 yards from my house, this cinema. And I wanted to see it again, even though I've got a Blu-ray of it in the other room, and it's on this computer as well.
Hey,
it's like,
you know what? There's something.
Do you really need to see it again? Well,
yes, I do.
First one I saw at the cinema again with my folks, but I love the action scene at the end in the tanker and all that stuff. It's just absolutely fantastic.
It's like there was just something like magical about it. And even Sean Connery was still kind of like rough and tumble, and he would get physical, but he never went to that first. He would always try to find a workaround or he outsmarted his opponent more often than he got into a physical altercation with them, but he was physically capable of doing all of these things, right? I think he backhanded more women than he punched bad guys.
I saw Thunderball on the big screen for the first time.
How was it?
I think it was either, it might have been at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Because they showed them all. They showed the whole lot. And that's why I got to go to there were two screenings of Spy Love Me. I was at both of them, And it's funny, it's the same group of people. I went to see Moonraker again, and I saw Thunderball and that one. There's a core group of people that are in every screening, and this is at the Prince Charles in Leicester Square. It shows a lot of old movies, and there's a lot of sort of like guys around my age. There's some women there as well, who are like Roger Moore fans or whatever. But Thunderball, I'd always wanted to see that epic underwater fight at the end on a big screen, which is great. It's really good. That bit of the film is amazing. Connery's interactions with all the female characters in that film proper dodgy. And just
doesn't
like
bother
today,
me.
you're watching it. Oh no, I mean, look, I don't mind it, but it doesn't sit well in today's climate.
No,
you're kind of watching it and going any more than the scene in You Only Live Twice, which I saw at an IMAX on the 40-year thing. That was one I went to see on a massive IMAX because I love that big battle in the volcano. Every Bond actor should have at least one bad guy who has a base in a volcano.
I agree.
All the ninjas coming down, but that film is completely ruined by that terrible scene where they say, "First, we must make you Japanese."
Yes,
and they stick these stupid eyebrows on him and a load of like really dodgy makeup. And there was a Japanese guy, I swear to you, sitting 3-4 seats away from me in the IMAX, and I was watching this, and he was sort of like getting more and more offended, and gradually he got up and he left. He left before the end of the film, and I was like, "But mate, there's a great action scene coming up. You're missing the big volcano fight. I actually wanted to go out and get him. Forget that bit. Just come back and watch her." But that stuff in it, just in any shape. I don't know.
Well,
I don't
and
know
I
how
think
that. Even at the time, that must have seemed ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah, I think especially because like they just went with all the stereotypes. Like they just went with every single stereotype. And I think the difference between that and something like The Last Samurai or 27 Ronin, I think the difference between that film and those films are they didn't attempt to make you believe that these guys were actually of any type of Oriental descent.
No.
The story worked within it. But yeah, that movie, oh my God. I still remember, like, the thing I remember vividly from that movie in particular, unless I've completely lost my mind, is because I think it made me, like, scared to go to bed for, like, 2 days, was the ninjas up in the ceiling with the thread and the poison.
Yeah!
And she rolls over.
That really... I think it... You Only Live Twice was the first Bond movie I saw at home, because I saw it. It was always a big thing, a Bond movie. It was always a holiday.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know, every holiday, Easter, there'd always be a Bond movie on TV. And this is back in the day when we had 3 channels, you know.
Yep.
And it was always ITV that had the Bond movies because they had advertising, so they had the money, so they had the Bond films. And it was, you know, You Only Live Twice this Sunday, and all the rest of it. And I remembered watching that scene and I didn't quite understand it. And by the way, that character who gets poisoned, right? She was not in the original script. There was no storyline with Bond getting married and all that stuff. That was not in there. Do you know the story about how that came about? So the role, so there's 2 Bond marries.
Yep.
And there's the one who's the agent, the secret agent who goes into the volcano with him. And you know, she's the one who's there with go back and get the ninjas kind of thing. She's running down the mountain in her skimpy costume. And I can't remember the character names, but so it was down to the 2 of them for that role, right? And the younger one who played the wife who gets poisoned got told, you know, you haven't got it. Sorry, you're not getting it. And she was, I bring huge dishonor to my family. That's it. And she was going to kill herself.
Oh no!
And she was gonna. It was a big thing. It was like she was going to kill herself. And Albert Broccoli found out this somehow.
Yeah. And
that she was in this state of depression, and she, you know, dishonored her father because she hadn't got the role. And he said, got the writers together. And he said, right, write her apart. Let's write her apart. And they put, because she was good, and they put her in.
I mean, that's amazing. I don't know many producers or directors that would do that today. They'd
be
like,
for all any actresses watching, don't try that bullshit on my set. I ain't writing you apart. You go ahead and do what you're going to do, but that's not going to work for me. But listen, I get it. It was a cultural thing, and you know, that's
what I'm saying. Like in that situation, I completely understand
that culture, that time, the pressure on her. I get completely. It wasn't an actress ego thing.
It was a legit.
It wasn't her trying to pull a fast one. It was a legitimate because I think the guy that played Tanaka, who was a great actor, I think he told that story, and I think it's on one of the Blu-ray special edition extras or something like that, and that's where I heard it. So it came from a pretty bona fide source. But so for those people watching, this is the Uncommon Valor / James Bond / Kenobi / Vietnam /
random knowledge and script and script writing advice.
Script writing course stream. Welcome. And by the way, Lady G, I've just got to thank you again most profusely, because my subscribers have now. I'm going to check again. I got 3 at the beginning of the stream. Now it's gone up more. I've got so I'm now at it was at 716 at one point, so one's fucked off again. They're probably going to have to poke around the site and say, no, this ain't for me. I was at 717 about 5 minutes ago. It's now at 716, so I was at 707 before I did the stream. So I've got 9. So 9 people have subbed, I assume, from watching this. Or it's a happy coincidence, but you know,
happy coincidence. All right,
I'm sure that's really kind. I don't know if any of my guys are watching. It's probably a bit late for my guys, but if any of my guys are watching, please also subscribe to Lady G's channel, please, and I will be spreading the word accordingly. I think we should wrap this up because we're coming up to 3 hours.
3 hours,
which is a big stream for me.
That's massive.
It's also 20 to 4 in
I was
the
gonna
UK.
say, isn't it like 5 a.m. for you right now?
It's no
Close.
biggie. But
Yeah.
listen, if I'm quite happy to do these, you know, like a couple of these a month, and I'm quite happy to stay up to this time. It's not so. If you ever want to ask me, just ask me, because I'm a proper night owl. So
Absolutely.
but we probably have we got any final thoughts on Uncommon Valor? Like I said about 45 minutes ago.
Well, I think.
Oh, that's kind, Eric. Thank you. Did someone just awesome one said,
Yes,
yeah,
awesome
guys,
one.
I'm trying to get up to 1,000 as soon as possible. So
Yes,
I'd
guys,
really appreciate that.
Go sub to Outcasts Creative. Like he said, it's not just him; it's a group of people, and they're doing really good stuff over there. So
yeah, I mean it's my channel, but there's a lot of people who I'm trying to help out with promoting, and you know, any actors that have done stuff for us, we will always back them to the hilt. And
there you go.
so there's a karma thing there. There's a karma thing going. You know, you're kind to people, and it will come back to you.
Yes, and you know, even if it doesn't, like, look, this is what we've been, you know, that's what these types of streams are all about. It's to help you discover something that you might not have known about, that you can go back and enjoy. You guys don't have to be trapped in the current consumerism of modern Hollywood. You can.
A lot of great stuff.
There's so much greatness out there, and that's really what these nostalgic Nirvana streams are all for. So you can either discover something new and go enjoy it for the first time, or rediscover something that you may have forgotten about. And the fact that there's people out there like Lance who are, you know, creating a community and bringing in all of these people and working together to build something, that says a lot. That is an incredible endeavor. And the fact that it's based on merit and not, you know, an agenda checkbox, ticking off check boxes, that it's actually based on talent and merit and strength of character and what you can bring to the table, and to try and deliver something that is actually what people want, rather than an agenda or a message. I mean, that's what this is all about. So, you know, I will do whatever I can to help you get to 1,000. I'm not by any means a huge channel.
No, but that's you know, that's fine. I mean, I don't care whether you've got 20 subs or you know, 200,000. If it's somebody who is interested in, and listen, I also don't do politics, right? I don't care if you voted for Trump or whether you voted for Biden or whether you're going to vote for Hitler in your next life. I generally stay out of politics. I'll talk about them in the context that we've talked about them tonight.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
But I'm not here to push a political viewpoint, because I approach each story that I tackle, or each subject, on the individual merit of that story, and then I explore it in my own way. That's always been my approach to a lot of my work. Has been sort of social injustice kind of topics. But you're not going to get any of that with me. You know, but I'm always happy to have conversations with. I like having dialogue with people. You know, we're all different. You know, I don't. And a lot of my friends in the States, I've got a lot of friends stateside. It's one of the reasons I'm coming out. And then we can see how tall you really are. You know, but I'll be like that. Yeah, a lot of them have completely different political views from me, and that's okay, because we didn't meet through politics. We met through a mutual love of history and board gaming and movies, and actually that's the stuff about them that I find interesting, and that's why I like hanging out with them. So you know, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say, if politics are your linchpin, you're gonna need something stronger than that, because like, I don't even like Idiocracy. I know people have said this before, but the fact that it is becoming prophetic is really terrifying. And, you know, quite frankly, if the reason you like someone or follow someone or care about someone is because solely based on their political views. What you have to understand is it doesn't matter if you line up on 98% of issues politically. There might be there might be that 2% that you decide is like the make or break situation. You're like, you know what, I can't like hang with you anymore because you're just too this or just too that, or we didn't see eye to eye on this. And that is literally just the case of it. And so like politics is really shaky ground to try and meet people through. I'm not saying you can't find people that way, but generally speaking, it's like what you were saying, Lance. It's values, it's common interests. Like if you're a history buff and a gaming buff and you're into engines and jets, you're most likely going to hang with people who have those similar interests because it's stuff you guys care about. And like that is where really good foundations for friendships start, is where it's stuff that you care about. And like that's literally just what this is for. I mean, not everybody, like I've done plenty of movies that people are like, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be because of how much you raved about it. It was one of the animated films that I covered. I can't remember if it was Titan AE, or
I'm watching
Sinbad. I think it was Sinbad.
On that topic, I am actually somebody who's watching Attack on Titan, which has been people were hounding Drinker, watch Attack on Titan, watch it. And so I said to him, look, and he's got a list of so many things. I've given him a list of about 500 things to watch.
Of course.
And I said, look, do you know what? I quite fancy watching this. So I bought the Blu-ray box set of season 1, and it's very Studio Ghibli. So if you like your Studio Ghibli, you'll like Attack on Titan. Beautifully rendered. And I'm not even going to try and explain the story. It's batshit crazy, but in a good way, so I'm quite enjoying that. So listen, so before I go, you've got to come and do a stream with me.
Okay.
So we'll do Last Starfighter. Now, the reason I wanted to do Last Starfighter, so for anyone watching who remembers The Last Starfighter, great film from 1986, one of the first films to use CGI after Tron. One person who's agreed to come on my channel, but I don't have a date yet, is composer Craig Saffin, who did the score for The Last Starfighter. He also did The Boy Who Could Fly. There's a big collaborator with Nick Castle, who also works with John Carpenter a lot. So I've got him coming on the channel at some point. I'm not quite sure when. Those people that are watching the channel who are a fan of Rambo, I have the director of Rambo 3 coming on my channel, and we're going to do a talk through of the entire movie.
That's amazing.
And he got the job at the last minute. He was second unit director on loads of stuff, and he'd worked with Stallone before, and they fired the actual director. And Stallone asked him to take over the film at the last minute. They'd only been shooting for about a week. So I can't wait to hear all the stories behind that.
Yeah.
And apparently Stallone and the Afghan kid actor didn't get on in that movie. And that Afghan kid actor, if you watch that film Rambo 3 again, he's fucking great. You can't take your eyes off him when he's on the screen. He's so good. And he did one film after that in the 90s. I think he's an Israeli actor. He did one film. Nothing else. What happened to him? I want to know. So we're definitely going to do a Last Starfighter stream, and I really like that movie. It's the effects are dated, but the script is great, the acting's great, characters are great, everything apart from the dated effects, which are not even Babylon 5 standard. So maybe we'll set a date and we'll do that, and I don't mind doing it late. So we'll just need to work out when you're free. And
absolutely, I would love to talk. I mean, I love old films. I mean, my God, Terrence Hill is one of my favorite actors. Like, let's be real. I
remember when you did the Lady Hawk stream, because I'm a massive fan of Richard Donner, and I've also got the Lady Hawk vinyl. I've also got a Lady Hawk cinema pod. course
You're
I
gonna
do.
tell me you could tell me you have a vinyl for every movie on planet Earth, and I would believe you because you have had so many great vinyls.
I've got about 200, I think, movie soundtracks on vinyl, and I've probably got about the same on CD. And the CDs never get touched now. I haven't got a CD player, so I haven't got a vinyl turntable anymore either. But I am planning on getting one again. I nearly, do you know what? I nearly put them all on eBay, nearly. And I didn't. At the last minute, I backed out.
So glad.
But yeah, so that and also, if anyone's a fan of Craig Fairbrass, who's a British actor who's he plays villains in a lot of roles, and he was in one of his really early roles was in Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone. He plays the British henchman, you know, who's like the footballer and tries to kick him over the cliff. So he's in all these British gangster films, Rise of the Foot Soldier, stuff like that. He's just done a big show in South Africa. He's coming on my stream in a couple of weeks, and he's going to do top 10 crime genre films with me. So we often do a show called Chew the Fat, where we talk about the top 10 of something. So if you ever want to do one of those and be a guest on that, please do come. But so we got Craig Fairbrass top 10 crime shows, and if you look behind me, you can see I've got the entire DVD set of The Shield there. So you might be able to guess what my number one is. There, and there's all the Bond films there as well. Look, there's the Bond movies. Most of my DVDs are all in DJ cases now, because I just had so many, and the boxes were taking up so much shelf space. They were taking up Star Trek spaceships shelf space, so I had to debox them all. But anyway,
wow.
All right. Well, look, I better go.
Yes,
it's late.
We will do an outro. Do you have anything coming up in a little bit, like anything that you want to share?
I think the very next stream, there's two things actually. So one is where is it? Oh, it's here. So if anybody likes do you know what? I'm terrible at promoting myself, by the way.
Well, we're going to promote you here.
All right. Well, if anybody likes reading science fiction, this is my book series. It's called Diamonds in the Sky. You can see 2 short films for this on the YouTube channel as well. Okay. And you'll like it because it's set now. It's about 200 alien ships that arrive on the Earth. They look like these things, like these giant spinning top things. And no one can get in them, and nothing comes out of them. And it's told from 8 characters' point of view all around the world. And everybody's from a different culture, a different background. So there's all kinds of characters in this book. You're not going to like them all, but that's okay, because each section of the book is divided into, each chapter is divided into 3 character headings. So if you want to read one character's journey, you can just do that, like a Game of Thrones novel. Okay. And this was written especially to be a TV show. And I wrote all 10 episodes of the first season during lockdown, and we read them all, and we did them all with sound effects and music and everything. It was fucking nuts. But the first 2 books of this are out now, and I've got a stream to do with this coming up. But the other one that I'm doing is to do with Lone Wolf. So Lone Wolf was a big, very popular fantasy book in the 80s and 90s. It was like one of these ones where, you know, you kind of go, do you want to go down the corridor and meet the dragon, or do you want to turn through the door and run out and turn to page 55? Game books. Okay. And these were huge. They sold millions of copies, especially in Europe and America. The D&D version of these books were called Fighting Fantasy. Yes. We've got I used to know the guy who wrote these, Joe Deaver. I used to game with him. Sadly, he died of cancer in 2017. His son has resurrected these. So you see, I've got all the originals. This is the reprint. This is the original one. See, from 1988 or whenever it came out. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing on my stream is I'm going to play the entire series of the books on a live stream with different guests who are going to help me make my choices. So if you want to come and do one of those sometime, we should do that. Yes. And I've got a dice rolling app, so I can put the dice up on the screen and we can see what my dice scores are. So no cheating. But I've also got the guy behind revitalizing the series is a guy who was a big fan. He's an American called August Hahn, and he's coming on the stream and doing an interview with me about the background into the books and how they've been redeveloped, how they've been rewritten, and they've kind of, real hardcore fans have gone in and mapped out the whole things, and they've kind of fixed all the glitches, and so it's a 32 book series now. And I only ever played the first 10, so it's kind of a bucket list thing that I want to play the whole.
Oh.
So so I'm debating. The reason I mentioned it is I'm debating doing a Diamonds in the Sky game version like this, where you do the turn by the numbers thing. But anyway, so I think you guys would like if you like sci-fi and you like action and you like quirky characters, I think people will like that book. What about you? What you got coming up?
Well, I've got my, if you guys are members, we have our first book club stream this Saturday. It'll be at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Good for your book club. There you go.
Hey, we're doing a Tale of Two Cities this weekend.
Oh, okay. I did not write that one. I was
just I think it was a guy who is not really well known. I think it's like Charles Chicken or Davis Dickens, something like that.
Charles Turkey, that was his name.
Charles Durkee, yeah. So it's Charles Dickens. It's A Tale of Two Cities, and we'll see how this first one kind of goes. But basically, if you're a member, it'll be a member stream, and then once we're done with it, it will be made public so that everybody can kind of see what it's about and what we talk about. And I'll also be announcing next month's book for the next month's book club meeting. But that is this Saturday, and then I have the Sailor Moon stream Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending, with Lethal.
I'll tell you what, with your book club, listen, if you decide you want to do my book, if anyone's got a Kindle, everyone who's on your book club, I will give them a free Kindle link for the first book. How's that?
Okay, so
normally $10.99. So if you've got a Kindle and you're going to do my book, don't whenever, 6 months, 3 months, whatever. If you decide you're going to do my book, I've got a free Kindle link. I know I've got a password for it. I'm pretty sure it still works. And
absolutely.
Can't do if you want to buy a printed one, you'll have to order it on Amazon.
Yeah,
and it's not that expensive, but I get times are hard, guys. It's just, don't feel obliged. But I can give a free Kindle, because if you guys are going to promote it for me, that's the least I can do, isn't it? So, so I'll give some free Kindle links out for people who've got Kindles. So let me if we want to organise that, and then I can come on the stream and people can tell me what they liked about it, what they didn't. That'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? And you can tell me who your favourite characters are. And by the way, guys, there's quite a detailed website for it. I'll put it in the chat now.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
The Sky Book Series.com. There you go.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. We'll definitely, you and I will plan that out. We can definitely do that.
Yeah. That might get me off my arse to write the third book, because I've got. I got really de-energized when I was trying to write it, and I've switched gears. I'm doing some other projects in the meantime. Look at that! I just got you $10.
Yeah, thank you, D-Day Darwol, for the Shibudo dancing fox.
Yeah, cheers for that, buddy.
Appreciate it. I think, and then to end all of this, because we were talking about hope and uncommon valor and stuff like that, I think that, in my humble opinion, I think that if we really want a superhero movie or a comic book movie, whatever you want to call it, that people would actually go back and watch and be invested in, I think that it should be a Steve Barron directed Superman film. And I think Henry Cavill could still be Superman, because I feel like he was the correct casting, but he was never able to he wasn't given a script or a story where he could be fully realized as either Clark Kent or Superman. They went dark timeline Superman. They went Injustice. They went the wrong way. And I would love just a good one.
I mean, I'm kind of superheroed out. I'm not saying I won't come back to superhero films, but there's so many reboots and reimaginings and all this. I like the early stuff. Now the action is just, it's so convoluted, and I can't follow what's going on, and it's just, I don't care. No one's going to really die anyway. They'll always find a way to bring someone back. It's like in Star Wars. See, when Reva died, I thought that was really cool, and I was like, okay, they've killed her, cool. Oh, but no, but we don't. Lightsabers don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore.
And then Qui-Gon Jinn came back and said, "Fuck off, man! I got killed like that. What's happened to me?"
Right?
So,
like,
anyway, but you know, so
Qui-Gon just looks weak now with everything that Disney did. They've like ruined Qui-Gon's death. But I've not seen any of the Disney stuff. I've never seen like, I bounced after Force Awakens.
Well, you know, Liam Neeson got paid some serious bucks for that. Next time we talk on a stream, I will tell you my Liam Neeson story. Right.
Yes.
I must go.
Much love.
I must go. It's so late.
It is. So thank you for coming, Lance. We are actually gonna call it quits there because we've gone for 3 hours, 15 minutes.
And guys that watched all the way through, you're legends, especially the people that sub to my channel. You've put it up by like at least 10 subs today. And listen, man, I know that's quite small compared to like Critical Drinker, who's on 1.2 million.
No.
But these small numbers are really important at this stage. So I'll just tell you, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Critical Drinker was at 700 subs at 1.2. Like, that's the thing, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and you guys are doing great stuff over there. I have no doubt that you're going to just keep growing. And like I said, anything I can do to help, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, and likewise, same. And I feel like I give good entertainment value on anyone's stream. So
amen.
You know,
you were fun here.
I can't promise a grabbing of genitals story every time, but I'll do my best.
Hey, that's all we ask for. Just do your best. But chat, you guys have been amazing as always. Thank you for the love, the support, everybody who super chatted and donated, everybody that subscribed to either myself or Lance during this. It was absolutely amazing. This was one of my favorite, most fun streams for sure, and not just because of the genital grabbing story. But Lance, I love talking to you. You've been so fun, and I got to learn so much about a film that I already loved that just makes me love it more.
Yeah, me too.
And we got to cover a lot of topics tonight, which I don't normally get to do. So I can't thank you enough. You were absolutely amazing. You're definitely coming back. I can't wait to go onto your stream.
Listen. We'll do it again. We'll do it again before the end of the month. All right.
Before the end of June, where we only
sure.
Well, we only have 7 days.
Okay. Well, let's. We'll definitely.
We'll shoot for before end of July.
That we will definitely do. Maybe two. Maybe two.
Spoiled here.
Maybe two. All
but
right.
Chat, much love. If you've not seen Uncommon Valor, definitely go give it a watch. It is a fantastic show. And I appreciate every single one of you. You guys are amazing. Much love. God bless.